Hello, everybody.
Welcome! What's your favorite name for the war? What do you like better? Some people call it Marineford, some people call it the War of the Best, some people call it the Summit War, the Whitebeard War, the War for Ace. What name do you like for it? Which, first of all, let's be honest, is a battle and a war. I guess there are wars that are only one battle, but calling it a war feels weird.
Calling it a war feels weird for a bunch of reasons. You know what I was just thinking about? You and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about the Cold War. And interestingly, it feels like the beginning of a Cold War creator because it feels like there's going to be a bunch of battles and there's going to be a bunch of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there's going to be a bunch of peacocking and small battles and setting yourself up and becoming stronger in your position and creating allies after this is done, which is kind of like what happened during the Cold War. So people thought that it was just like, oh, nothing happened. No, shit was happening crazy after in the Cold War. There was all sorts of stuff happening and all sorts of political movement. And so it kind of feels like that. But I just like, honestly, Marineford, because I don't think of it just as a battle for Ace, because Ace is a tool that the government is using, right?
I think Marineford is good. The reason it's a war and a battle to me is because, like, while it is just one fight, one of the belligerents was annihilated as a faction as a result of the battle. So the war just started and ended with one battle because the one battle annihilated them as a faction. The Whitebeard pirates are no more.
Yeah, agreed. Except for they're split up. Is there a way to unify them? Yeah. Should we get started? You are the only one, literally the only one who calls me on my weirdness.
Yeah, last night Mama Drug called me being like, hey, I have this great idea, and I listened to her about it, and I was like, yeah, no, I think that could work. And yeah, she goes, oh, that's a great idea. And I'm like, do you usually get away with shit like telling people they have a great idea when their great idea is agreeing with the proposition you've called to talk about?
I legitimately feel like if people think that the idea is theirs, they're more likely to go along with it. So I'm very comfortable with not taking credit for ideas. Is that a little Blackbeardish? It might be. Well, we're on sidetracks. So Shitsomun wo boshu sura means I'm taking questions. We've decided to take the thing where Drock announces in the community what chapter we're going to be streaming here, and we're going to call it the ITQ, I'm taking questions. And it's a place that people can ask me questions and I'll come in. Sometimes I might be cheeky and just answer you with cheeky crap, but sometimes I might be like Oda is and just answer you some stuff. So if you have interesting questions in the meantime, or you just want to have fun, that is what we are calling our community announcements, ITQs. I'm taking questions. That's all. I like that we started right from the point of looking at all the people because they're like celebrating all over the place about this win that's taking place. And I'm like, tell me a win. That isn't a win, you dumbasses. And then we immediately get to see the burden of a new pirate era falls on their shoulders. We have witnessed this historic event with keen interest. They stand and watch the dust settle upon Marineford. It's finally over. And so it's really interesting because all the people who are our top pirates that we have already been fooling say that they can all feel the coming of a new era of bloodthirst on the surface of their skin. Let's just take a moment. I know there's a time when every author writes lines that they're like, God damn, that's a good line. And this here, I guarantee after Oda wrote this, and I hope it's very similar in Japanese, that he was like, damn, that was good. I love this idea of being able to feel something coming towards you on the surface of your skin because it talks about that concept of how we are capable of knowing things at a deeper level than we know, the way that my nation would fight, and having long hair helped to be part of another sense that the hair itself could feel danger. So I love that.
Which is so funny because apparently some groups shave their head for the exact same reason. But I guess both of them have a way of giving a different sort of sensitivity.
Yeah. But I think it's really, a bald head would also have different information, but it said that a lot of the people who are Anishinaabe like to have long hair because it allowed them to have senses that reached out further and were able to notice things at a deeper level. The person who I tried to like and I don't like.
Kid?
Yeah, I don't like him.
I really want to, but yeah.
I really do too, because I really see him as being like one of these nasty ass characters that I could really sink my teeth into, but all I want to do is sink my teeth into him and kill him. And that's different. It's a very different vibe. Yeah, it's there's a difference. I don't know if you can feel it, but it's different. So I don't. But I like that he's announcing a turbulent new era. And I like how some people understood immediately that Whitebeard being dead was going to cause problems. But then other people who were in the Navy were like, I want to be the kind of sailor that gets summoned to the headquarters. Good for you, Craig. I'm glad you want to. That's nice that you want to run towards the death. But then right away, exactly what I said, Blackbeard causes power vacuums, and then Oda says that. Oda literally right in the comic says the thing that I said. So I will
say, however, you had read this when we did that video. This one's not as impressive as the other one.
No, except for I didn't even remember reading it literally until...
Yeah, but there's just a chance of it being in your subconscious.
Today. So I think there was subliminal messaging. But I was like, goddamn, yeah. His whole character is this way because now there is huge power structures of emptiness all over the world, and people are going to be coming in behind to fill in the Whitebeard lookover. Like Brownbeard, who is just... And who I do love that my third favorite high-ranked pirate was like, your name is stupid and I see death for you. And I was like, I
love Hawkins is dunking on this dude. Like, what a dumbass name. Get wrecked.
Your name is stupid and you're gonna die today. Like, that's an amazing thing to say. I think that the beginning and finding out that, of course, my great girl Hancock is letting them come over to Amazon Lily. How awesome is that? Because that is a place that they would never think to look for him. And so it's amazing to see all the people coming together to save Luffy in the very beginning. And we get to see the power structures that are failing and all the things that are going to need to be filled and all the problems that are happening. And I really felt like this was this buildup of freaking hell. That Oda was like, yeah, now that the war is over, the real war begins. Because when red-haired Shanks is like, this war is over, I'm like, is it red hair? Because I feel like the real war is actually just begun. And I think that's why you can call it Marineford a war, but it is a battle and war beginner. It is the supposed, shot into Archduke Ferdinand. Even though, let's be honest, that's not where the war started, but it isn't where this started. But when you're learning...
Okay. I genuinely like the way it's taught now, which is that is the lit match and all of the political structures were gunpowder.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the same as this moment, because Marineford and the things that happen only happened because of all of the freaking gunpowder that occurred before, and this was the whole lit match.
Yeah, Whitebeard was kind of keeping the peace of the world. Well, and I think it's exactly what you were talking about of why would they destabilize the pillars, and the reason was that Sengoku thought he could control the image of the war enough to demotivate pirates worldwide so it didn't matter that things were knocked out of balance, and Buggy made sure that literally the opposite happened.
Exactly, which is perfect. Couldn't have happened better for us. Well done, Buggy, you big weirdo. Anyway, I think that what this battle did is it was the Archduke Ferdinand kind of moment. And so it was really, really interesting to see all the power structures falling apart. But more important for me was to see the people who then had personal problems after the war, like a conscious of being, and am I doing the right thing? And maybe I should leave. And I think that I have to retire. And all the different people who kind of went through it when the war ended.
Nothing kills me in this section more than Garp talking to Dadan.
Yeah, that when we get to that, like that was hard. That was rough, man. How is Magellan? He's been beaten terribly. He's near death. If the medics aren't giving him intensive treatment right now. That whole thing where he says, don't let him do anything stupid like that when he talks about taking his own life. And they find out about Section 6 being in complete shambles. The world government finds out not only did Marineford go the way that it went, because they weren't there for Impel Down, and I forgot that they didn't know the extent to which Impel Down went through the ringer. Not only did you not get what you needed, you got the opposite of what you were hoping for in Marineford. Impel Down has been seriously shaken up.
Well, it's also wild to see when they talk about Magellan that, like, after getting dunked on him once, Blackbeard definitely didn't not take that guy seriously on the way out, and he didn't just, like, run away. He f***ed up as he left.
Exactly. And I really liked it because I liked that Sengoku has to go through a crisis of being when he finds out there are all these people released into the world who can literally cause some of the greatest grievances that they've seen in generations, because they're all out together now. Whereas before, people have been put into prison at different times, so very few times were all of these people there together, and now they are. And what does the government say? The government says, shut your goddamn mouth. We're not going to let people know because they'll lose confidence. That, for Sengoku, when he goes, that's absurd, and he screams, you can see that his anger comes from a place of, I am fighting on the side of people who aren't even going to warn other people within the Navy, let alone citizens, about how incredibly messed up the world is now and what danger they're in. So to find out that the people whose side you're on, the people who you fight for and you lead, are going to put people at such risk must have been an absolute mind killer. An absolute, fear is a mind killer, an absolute mind killer, because he has to go into this now knowing, like, I have fought so hard. I ended up doing the exact opposite of what I wanted to do because there were so many chaotic pieces. And on top of it, the government is going to allow people to be in the most danger ever. They're going to allow the Navy to be in the most danger ever, all to save face. And so this made me think of the idea of the Japanese need to save face, and how Oda is kind of like outing it in public and showing how saving face can override what actually needs to be done for the good of citizens. And so that goes along with my theory about getting to look at World War II. Do not let me forget that when we talk about that. Not right now.
I will do my best to not let you forget that when we talk about that. Yeah, the irony is that Sengoku's too much of a true believer in the world government's justice to remain in line with the world government, because he honestly believes it more than the government does. I think that's such a good read. It's also why he thinks annihilating pirates from the world was a good thing, even though all he did was destabilize the world by killing one of the good pirates who actually was holding things together and keeping bloodlust at bay.
Massively together. So you had your 4 key players in the pirate world. You decide to choose to take a battle with them because you think that's the right direction to go in order to get rid of
one of the best of them, one of the peaceful ones who's keeping the world in order.
Most peaceful, most caring, most thoughtful for his crew. Also, most thoughtful in the world. And you have to wonder, if you're Sengoku, what the hell you were thinking when you had someone that you actually knew protect citizens all over the world better, in my opinion, than many of the goddamn government people and the Navy. Yeah. You create a vacuum. You know you're going to create a vacuum in some way on this. And you have many communities that can't be reached by the Navy. And that's the whole idea of it takes the world's cooperation to keep people safe. Whitebeard was part of that system who you legitimately knew that for. And that's why he was one of the 4 in the 3 pillars. And you created a freaking vacuum of power, and now sucking into every one of the places that Whitebeard was protecting. You have pirates coming in to decimate quiet, helpful, sweet villages of people. Some of them not so sweet.
And the reason he thinks it was justified is because in his mind, peace can only come through order. Order is to be part of the world government. Whitebeard made the crime of being a source of power that was not in line with the world government. He was a criminal by disobedience alone. Like, no action he took was needed because he was waving a flag that was not the world government. So he sees this motivating symbol of power for piracy worldwide and says killing this to demotivate piracy is a greater good. And when he wants to own up to his failure that it wasn't, he's not allowed because it'll embarrass the government that he made a mistake.
Which is the same thing that happened with Smoker in that whole section as well, but just at a larger level. It's also really interesting because somebody said, well, maybe he felt the government could fall into those positions. But I don't think that he felt like the government could fall into the positions of protecting all of those villages and all of those places, because they can't even protect the areas they're in, which is why they need the 7 pirates and the 4 main dudes, because without them, you don't have protection globally.
Although they have some lines in here that indicate they think that the pacifistas are enough to give them more power in the world. So he could think the pacifistas were going to fill in for Whitebeard.
And the whole pacifista thing is like, we'll get into it a little bit here. It kicks my ass because I keep going like, okay, what do they have over Kuma? What are they holding over him? What's his backstory? That one's going to suck. I'm not looking forward to it. But then I remembered that Kuma also had a crazy amount of adoration for Dr. Vegapunk. And I'm like, why? From everything I've seen, he's a shithead who actually caused a lot of problems and has created weapons and learned to give inanimate things and devil fruit. I'm not thinking that's great. But then when we went back and saw Frankie, and Frankie was looking at some of his inventions, and we discover that Dr. Vegapunk is definitely trying to make things better for humans, I started to wonder, what side is Dr. Vegapunk actually on? And is there a reason that Kuma is allowing himself to be taken? Could it be because of faith he has in Dr. Vegapunk, and that Dr. Vegapunk is going to be somebody who's actually working on the side of the rebellion, and you just have to look, for all intents purposes, like you're working on behalf of the government in order to get the things that you need to create a greater good for people? Is this another greater good moment? And that could have been one of the reasons that he sacrificed himself. And it started to make me think about the pacifistas. If they're being made by Dr. Vegapunk, is it possible that he agreed to do this under the idea that one day the pacifistas will actually turn on the government and Dr. Vegapunk could be a rebellion leader. And don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily think that's true. I'm just thinking that when I start to think about like, where are we going to and why would Kuma actually give himself up like this and allow his humanity to be taken away from him? Because that's what's occurring here, which is why I think he also carries this religious book. In order for that to work and him to remember his own humanity, I wonder whether or not he gave permission to Dr. Vegapunk because he knows that eventually it'll end up being for the greater good and he will have more of him to fight for the good side. I do not know if this would ever be true, but it's something that I think is interesting and could perhaps be a direction. The other idea, I mean, if you're thinking about another reason why he would do it, the other reasons are obvious. They either have something on him and he's agreeing to it, or they are trying to hurt someone or some things that are important to him, and that's why he's agreed to do it. So it's a hard call, right? I do love the idea of, since we are learning about Dr. Vegapunk and some of his failed things occurred and he was trying to bring warmth through all of his people and all these different things, you have to start to wonder why Kuma is singing his praises in the midst of knowing that his humanity is being stolen from him, right? Because we're watching him say, I won't be the same person. You and I will never see each other again. And then in here, we go through a part of the story where suddenly he says to Rayleigh, when he sees Rayleigh again, I am a member of the rebellion. I am a leader of the rebellion. So he still sees himself as that thing when he's talking to Rayleigh. And that's really important to note. I want to make sure the Straw Hats are safe. So if he still sees himself as a member of the rebellion, then I have to ask, why then is he have faith in Dr. Vegapunk? And perhaps we should. Perhaps it's a note to self that we can trust somebody who's covert. I don't know. Could be.
I think you're asking the right questions, whether or not you know what to do with them. Someone wants to know your thoughts on us finding out the name of the fourth emperor, Big Mom.
I feel like, I mean, I'm looking forward to meeting her and I hope she's not big.
Immediately, first of all, she's big. It's in the name. Do you know two things about her? She's big and she's mom.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes we call people tiny who are monsters.
No, second of all, I must preface, here's how you know she's an unstoppable force in the world, right?
Yeah.
Here's how you know she has to be the most dangerous creature to exist on this planet. She's a mom and she's alive.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that.
She's a mom who survived One Piece.
She is a mom who survived the killing of Oda. Oda is personally out there on his own quest of mom decimation, and somehow she's at the top. You make a good point. You got to be a goddamn legend.
Adoptive moms are allowed to live. You guys are pointing out Dadan. The only way to live is to be an adoptive mom like Kureha or Dadan, or be a grandmother by the time the series catches you. If by the time the series catches you, your title is grandma, then it's okay that your daughters just die. You just can't live.
You cannot just be a mom, is what we have discovered. Yeah. Okay. So, when I read this page, and it is page 5 of 21 in chapter 582. I was not your friend. You and I were enemies. You just didn't know it because you weren't around to find out that I enemied you.
Okay. What
I unenemied you now, just so you know.
Why were we enemies?
That's when Luffy woke up and screams, where are you? I did not like you anymore. I was so unimpressed. Hey, Mama, do you want to read this story? It's a great story. Won't rip your heart out at all. I'm looking at this page right now, and I want to cry again right now. Like, it is decimating when he wakes up that way. Can we get a prediction on how many kids Big Mom has? Oh, God. I see Big Mom as kind of a whitebeard moment, but we'll see.
Look, the name says it all.
She's big and she's a mom?
Yeah.
You're right. I didn't consider that.
I honestly really like Big Mom. Unironically, one of my favorite characters, and I'm so excited to get there far in the future.
Who I want to really know who they are is the goddamned bowler hat person who Flamingo was talking to. That's what I want to know. Every time I do it, you think it's funny. What's good about that? Because every day, that makes Flamingo a little less scary and a little more Homer.
If we reach a point where he's in the story more, you are going to give up on that name just from how often you're going to have to say it.
Well, I want to say something else, but I can't because what I want to call him is Face Flamingo. All right, we're moving on. Oda did an unreasonably good job on creating panel after panel where there's almost no words and just all Luffy in agony. He did so much in that. If you're talking about a picture says 1,000 words, he absolutely nailed that in his panels of Luffy's grief. He realized exactly like I was wondering if he would, that you can't make things as powerful as they need to be when you're trying to show grief in words. It's really hard, right? Yes, exactly.
And I think it's an advantage manga has over a book. I've never read a book where grief felt right, but these chapters of One Piece actually better than anything I've read capture grief.
I have unironically, and I mean this for real, read one book where I thought that the author did a phenomenal job of showing how deeply depressed a person was. It's a vampire story where there's some wolves
I know what
and
you're
some
gonna say.
vampires.
I know what you're gonna say.
I'm not wrong.
I read it I read it as a teen out of curiosity, and you are actually right that Stephanie Meyer deciding in the second Twilight book to not write for like 8 pages in a row was actually a better way of showing grief than I've seen any other author do. And I say this, I didn't like the books that much. I don't think they're very good.
No.
But that was brilliant.
No, she put months on them or seasons or something. And when I read that, I was like, whoa, you did that right. That is a really well done way of showing grief, because you knew that you couldn't just be like, I'm so sad. It's almost impossible to show people or to tell people how sad you are, whether you like it or not. Whereas Oda did the exact same thing that Stephanie Meyer did with her Pages of Nothing.
There's so many people in chat being like, yeah, I didn't love the book either, but that was honestly brilliant.
But that was brilliant. And it was like 4 months. That's right. And it was really well done because it actually did show what depression looks like. And this here is another time that I said, like, yeah, the author did a really good job of showing depression and all of its subtleties, because they were able to show the tension in Luffy's body, the breaking of his face, the way that he's trying to hold it in rage by creating fists, not noticing that his own body is in all this hell. And they actually show, and then just finally breaking and pressing his hands into both sides of his head and screaming up into the sky. That is how you show depression. And it is 4 pages of nothing but Luffy coming to terms with remembering what occurs to Ace and going through all of this different crap. And so I thought here, like, you exactly nailed this. Just starting by talking about it wouldn't have done it. And then for him to come out of it and have Old Jim there, I was so grateful that Old Jim was there. Oh, so grateful. I really wanted it to be Old Jim, because Old Jim had the right love and strength balance for Luffy. To have him be there and to have Luffy confront it, and Luffy knows that Old Jim and Ace spent time together too. So to have the two of them together and have Old Jim decide that he's going to protect Luffy and he's going to protect his heart, I just think that's gorgeous. I couldn't have been happier with that decision. And then he just gave it to him straight. Ace is dead, isn't he? Yes, he's dead. It was so perfect. And then Luffy breaks again, but he breaks and spills tears. That was amazing, because they keep going back in time and showing in Luffy's childhood all the times that Ace tells Luffy not to cry and that he's a crybaby. And then they keep showing the people that we really admire for the way that they're able to use their strength and power, like Red Hair Shanks and Old Jim. Tell them that no, crying is important. Crying is the vehicle to refresh your body from this pain, and it's a way of paying tribute to those you've lost. And Ace, yes, Ace cried in Luffy's arms. So it was like at the end of Ace's life that he understood there are times you can't hold back the tears. The tears are the thing. The tears work the same way that the Twilight Empty chapters and these panels work. The tears say the things you actually can't say to express how deeply you feel something. And the tears release it and let everyone else know. And so it was amazing to see how deeply Luffy cried and how well Old Jim just stood by him like, yeah, dude, that's what you do. That's what you do. And it was stunning. And then to move from him just breaking apart, boom, back to being with Garp, because we see Luffy crying and at his weakest, most vulnerable place. And as we're seeing that, we find out that Garp hated that part of Luffy, that human part, that need to cry. And we see Garp grabbing him by the cheek and dragging him through the forest because he needs to toughen up more because he's not getting tough. And so it was amazing to see the juxtaposition between Luffy as a young adult sinking into his tears and being supported in it, and having people that he admires and who are going to come to be role models to him supporting tears and supporting grieving. And then on the other hand, the way that he was raised and how his grandfather thought that because of his crying and other things that he wasn't strong enough and was taking him off to, how do you pronounce that chick's name? Dodon? Sure, okay. Dragging him off to Dodon. I thought that was a really good juxtaposition. Really well done. Love that. Port Gaz Ace 10 years ago. The moment where Luffy and Ace meet each other for the first time was not what I was expecting, but I was wrong. It was phenomenal. And I loved it with all my heart and all my soul. And I love that Luffy comes in and immediately goes, I hate bandits, because of all of his time with the bandits down there.
Higuma literally tried to murder him.
Yeah, exactly. So he thinks about all the thing and he's like, ugh, I hate bandits. I can't believe I've been brought up. Shut up, Brett. You realize how much trouble I'm going through because of you? If you don't like it here, that's fine with me. Leave, go die somewhere. And then take it easy, boss. It was actually amazing to see this whole arc between Luffy and Ace. And I love that we go through the thing, but I'm like, why is he doing this? And then it goes back into the beginning and it shows Luffy talking to Red Hair Shanks. He made you look like a weakling. Why didn't you fight him? He just got some grog on me. There's no needless killing doesn't make you a man. So it was amazing to me when we were reminded what Luffy learnt from Red Hair Shanks and that he was willing to put himself in front of Ace over and over again, beat up, allow himself to get hurt, allow himself to be humiliated day in, day out, over and over. You're like, why are you going through this? And we find the gray area where we've got the garbage dump and all the people and the refuse that nobody wants, filled with crime and disease. And how awful it is. And you're like, God damn, Luffy, what are you doing? And then finally Ace is like sitting there and he's like, why won't you just give up on it? And Luffy's like, because you're all that I have. And I was like, oh, okay. There's a new part to hurt. I didn't know I had places left to hurt. It was so raw. And to show all the things that Luffy was willing to go through because Luffy realized as a child, this person is going to have to love me and care for me because he is all that I have. So whether he likes it or not, we will be friends. Oh, God.
You can see him becoming the man he's going to have to be in having this persistence to find someone he sees as worthwhile and make them like him.
Yeah, oh my God, I love that point. That's an amazing one, Druck, because you really can see the buildup of how he is like, that's okay. I will work and work and work, and you will learn to like me, and you will be here, and we will be together. That's amazing. Yeah, I love that idea. Sabo. Love that little bastard, and I'm going to love him in the future because he's not dead. You could put it down as a prediction.
Whoa. You think
Sabo is
Mr.
not
Sabo's not dead?
Sabo's not dead.
I need to be honest. I have literally not had a whether it's with someone who I'm reading vicariously through a series or a friend, I have not had a single person reach Sabo's death and be like, yeah, I believe he's dead. Not a one. Not a single one have I seen believe him to be dead. I'm saying it this confidently. You don't get to make a prediction about this because literally I haven't met a single person who thought he was dead.
Okay, well then my prediction is that not only is he not dead, but he works for the rebellion and he's under Dragon's wing.
There you go. That's a prediction I'll count. I'm not, he's alive doesn't count as a prediction.
That's fine. He works for the rebellion. He's under Dragon's wing. He was able to study everything that he needed to study in order to become a phenomenal navigator. And that is true. And nobody can convince me otherwise.
All right. Something about Sabo.
I love Sabo.
Something about Sabo.
I love that dude.
Have you re-examined thinking about Ace's tattoo now that you've seen the backstory? Because there's a popular theory that it wasn't actually him trying to spell his name, getting it wrong and crossing it out. It was meant to be a sign of you can only rely on yourself. That was going to be ASL and then crossing out the S to just do Ace.
I don't think so.
Okay, you think it was just him misspelling his name to the tattoo artist?
Yeah, I think it's bullshit because here's why. Like, it would be a thing that I would love. You know how I love that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I don't think so is because by the time that Ace left...
Apparently, the S with this X through it was Sabo's flag as well, which is why there's evidence for it.
That would be more like an S with an X through it would just be tribute to Sabo, that he did that for Sabo and then put a C underneath.
All right.
Because in my opinion, those two...
Oh, it's confirmed it's for Sabo, apparently. I haven't seen a source, though, so actually I'm not just going to trust what the chatter says.
For Sabo, to memorialize Sabo, and that would be amazing. Because Ace finds out that there are two people who just love him for who he is here. And it is Sabo and it is Luffy. And those are two people he would never give up on. And
that's fair.
Every time he sees Luffy, he's like, all about, I'm worried about my younger brother. And every time he's with him, he's like, I'm going to toughen you up because there's no way in hell I'm going to allow you to be taken advantage of or hurt. So no, I would never say that. Ace died with Luffy and Sabo deep inside of his heart. Not in his his tummy, I'll tell you that.
We're getting into the other theory that the tattoo that spells out Ace was a bunch of people he knows, and the C is for Crybaby and the E is for Edward Newgate. But I'm almost certain that the Ace novel, which was approved by Oda, has him have the tattoo before he met Whitebeard. So I think that one's actually just debunked.
Ew, I don't like that theory at all. I don't remember what I was going to say, and it was so good. It was maybe the best thing I was ever going to say, ever. We'll never know. It's gone. It's gone for life. It's gone forever. Oh, I remember. So unironically, I think the place that Luffy got the idea to do what he did was from Ace's crossed out S and his tribute to Sabo. Because later, when Luffy tattoos his arm with the thing that was gonna happen, crosses it out.
It's just written on, not a tattoo.
That's not the point. Luffy 100% got that idea from what Ace did. And so there's certain things like I think are some of the most important things that an author can do. One of the things he does is Luffy decides to stab himself in the eye, which is asinine. But then when you think about the fact that the two people that he knew that were the toughest people to him were Garp and red-haired Shanks, of course he would stab himself in the eye because the two people that he would see as the strongest both had scars on their eyes. So there's all sorts of things like that he does, including this, where Luffy writes something on his arm, crosses it off so it looks like a tattoo, and puts a thing underneath it that is the thing he wants his crew to notice, and the 3D too wide tattooed on me. You have that? That's amazing. And I think that it's really cool because Oda is doing this. It's in the details. Making somebody a rich, rounded character comes in details like that. And I was like, damn right, baby. Having that little thing connected to his brother as him being like, I know it might cause somebody to pay attention. And doing that, I was like, you rounded that bitch right out. That's what you did. Okay, Sabo is amazing. I love Sabo. I love that he chooses to leave the rat bastards inside of Goa in the town center as a aristocrat and comes out into the forest. I think that their friendship and looking at his childhood, I would never have predicted the type of childhood that Oda wrote for Luffy. I don't think I ever would have seen this as being a background that I would have thought of. And yet when I read it, I was like, I don't think there is a background that you could make that would more explain Luffy's character. When you have found family as a child who choose each other and create some of the deepest connections ever that you could ever have, and that found family becomes your deep, real, connected family, you can see the impact that that's going to have on Luffy and why he's going to grow up and feel this need to treat his found family as his family and have this ability to bond with people who you really match with. This leaning into each other to create safety, to create love, to dream together, to make each other stronger. Sabo and Ace really are the same type of relationship that he ends up having with the Straw Hats, and that you can feel coming together more and more every day. So I didn't ever expect this. Also, when you have Sabo, who's an aristocrat, and Luffy finds it out, and he realizes that doesn't change one rat's ass who Sabo is. And when he learns to appreciate Dun, you're right, it does turn into the Pink Panther. When he learns to appreciate Dun, and she is a bandit leader, and all these other things that he finds in his childhood with these people, you can see how it totally influences the way that he acts in the world, and the way that he sees, like, it doesn't matter who you are or where you came from, what matters are your actions and what you end up doing. I really think that Oda was brilliant in choosing these friendships and bonds, and it was beautiful. And we see Luffy already making these choices about what friendship looks like. Luffy's little face when the person says, I might as well ask, today Ace stole some money from us and ran off with it. Do you know where it is? And then Luffy goes, no, and whistles with his little mouth off to the side, and his tiny little nose and big eyes. And he goes, what a terrible liar. And then he actually just beats the living shit out of Luffy with like such a dangerous, horrifying weapon, and smashes him in his little face with these terrible gloves. And Luffy doesn't break. Luffy stands against him with these spikes, and he screams, that hurt, I'm scared, help. Like he's a baby, and he's completely scared and completely devastated. And yet he holds and he holds and he holds through all of this beating. Still didn't talk. And Ace was just mystified. How could he not be talking? I don't understand. This is absolutely ridiculous. And then we see a picture. Freaking tiny little Luffy is hanging off of a rope, hiccuping and bleeding and crying. And they're saying, this is just cruel. He's not even screaming anymore. He's not going to tell us anything. When Luffy gets rescued by Sabo and Ace gets so angry at him and is like, why didn't you? And we also see here, let's go, Ace. I never run away. Once I face off my enemies, I never run away. Ugh, damn it, Ace. That's what gets you in trouble. Maybe you actually should have run away, you dumbass. Anyways, this is a character flaw you need to work on. And then they say to him, you got a real bad habit, says Sabo. Ace, how can you refuse to run away when you're up against a real pirate? And then he tells them, I feel like I'll lose something. Luffy says, I was so scared. I thought I was going to die. And he's like, shut up. Don't be a crybaby. Why didn't you just tell them? You knew those guys would killed women and children. If I told them, I couldn't be your friend anymore. He goes, don't you remember what I told you? Don't follow me all the way here. So what? It's better than dying. And he says, because I got nobody else. And yells it out. You see all of the beginnings of Luffy's life and who he becomes and why he becomes the way he is here. It is actually a perfect backstory. It is written, it is a choice that is the only acceptable backstory, to the point that I can't believe I didn't think about it, except for it came out of the depths of his imagination. And when Sabo decides, like, they all decide we can't live in the forest anymore, that's going to be a problem. People are fighting, coming after us. I like that he goes up, hey, you're done, right? I'm Sabo. Sabo, what do I know? I hear you're that dirty little troublemaker. Oh, I heard you're a nasty old egg. Oh, Sabo, you sweet talker. You're an absolute cracker, Sabo.
I feel like he can be so diplomatic that you know that he just does that because, like, you're gonna come at me, I'm gonna come back.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have actually appreciated somebody who was like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way about me. That wouldn't have worked.
No.
Him saying, oh, I heard you're a nasty old hag, that's probably the best direction for that. That's gonna actually get you a little further into her heart, whether you know it or not. Wait a minute. People don't love Sabo?
I will get to my complicated feelings on Sabo if he happens to be alive and we see him again.
I love Sabo. You mean when we meet him again while he's working for Dragon?
Whoa.
Do you know what I look forward to so much?
Mm-hmm.
Robin and Sabo connecting. That is going to be amazing. I hope that Robin and Sabo get along. If Robin and Sabo don't like each other, I'll be mad. That better happen. That better happen. Let's take a look at this. Where did my feelings that he would work for Dragon come from? Oh,
yeah,
God. There's
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, Dragon is within that area. We know that. Then we read this, and it is, I don't know what chapter, so bite me. It's a chapter. So Dragon was in the bay when Sabo was shot at. Also, there's no body. So no body, not dead. And then
not necessarily no body, not dead, but not certain.
You know what I mean? A little earlier on in the night, after the ship of the Celestial Dragon sailed into the port of the Kingdom of Goa, some kid said, did you see that thing today? The guy with the huge face? Yeah, look, the ship is huge too. 580, 581. I don't know what they're counting. I was trying to figure it out. I don't know. In certain section of the East Blue, in a little port town. You're late, Dragon. How long are you going to keep me waiting? And then he says, sorry. And then somebody says, oh, hey, hurry up and get him some help. This is terrible. And then he goes on to talk. So in my opinion, that was the moment that the person on the ship saw Sabo and how absolutely decimated his body was and was like, oh my God, get him some help. So it's clear that Dragon was in the bay. He was still there that night. I think they waited. They rescued Sabo. They brought him on the boat. That made Dragon late to the place that he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then when they got there, people were like, oh my God, oh no. So obviously... That's the area.
That's pretty cool. How fucking sad is it that Kuina died like a couple weeks before someone who can permanently change your gender rolled up on that island?
Oh, right?
Like right fucking before.
That's crushing. Holy shit, that's an ouch to the soul.
Yeah. Right? So here's something I want to get into. I saw some comments about how calling Oda Marxist is wrong because he's not. First of all, I've done some more reading since, and I think there's actually an argument that he might be, which I didn't used to agree with, but that's not what I want to get into. What I've been talking about previously is that I think the way Oda analyzes class is Marxist informed. And here's the reason I think Sabo gets into that for me. Sabo and Ace together get into that for me. And the reason for that is while people don't think this because Marx was used as an excuse by authoritarians to create a state that was incredibly anti-freedom, Marx's analysis came from the lens of promoting freedom freedom. And something he pointed out was people from the class of the bourgeois, the owners of labor rather than the actors of labor, had social pressures that ruined their ability to act freely in the exact same way as the proletariat. And I think Sabo and Ace are an exact representation of it. Both of them have things that are limiting their ability to act freely, but they are different social pressures that they both dislike and want to throw away. Piracy represents freeing yourselves of the shackles of class, whether that's low class or high class. And saying that someone's using a Marxist framework doesn't mean they're a Marxist, because if you're not aware of this, basically every single modern economic, political, sociological, and philosophical framework includes some level of Marxist analysis. So you aren't calling someone a Marxist by saying they're engaging in Marxist analysis. That is just like a big part of analysis in huge swaths of academia.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely. And I also think that Oda is just exploring different forms of politics and allowing himself to create politics built out of many. And I think that would be important. He's using all the different political ideals that we have within this. Learning about things about politics is fun. It literally shapes our lives, whether we like it or not. The idea, by the way, of the gray terminal being a refuse that they put every shitty thing in that they don't want and then people build their life out of it. I felt like he was taking a bunch of different sections of the world that we have that people ignore and pretend don't exist and pretend that that doesn't happen. There is this documentary that I watched about this girl whose name is Grace. And every day her dad would go to the big giant garbage dump along with a bunch of other people, and they would collect different things that they got, that they sold and would make their money from. And they lived in like this put together by different materials clearly found within this same garbage dump, these huge garbage dumps. They also talked about how many people would die there all the time because the new garbage trucks would come and people were buried underneath trying to find things, and they would get absolutely freaking dumped on by new garbage truck. It was the Philippines. There was a place and it was in the Philippines. Grace ends up having to leave school because her dad gets injured in one of these times and she has to start going to the garbage dump, and she starts talking in all these positive ways. And meanwhile, the people who are leading the documentary are saying, like, this is an area that nobody thinks about. And we just say in our country, this is fine. It's okay that people have to live this way and that people have to do this. And they're very lucky because they're getting some really good garbage from people who are quite well off. And when I looked at this, I thought about how interesting it was, because when kids write into, or adults write into the SBS and they say, hey, is this coming around from this? Is the idea that you made about this from this? And he's like, yes, it is. Thank you for being aware and looking at the world outside your own world. And when people say things like, oh, I heard of a circular rainbow, blah, 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 he's like, yes, there is. And he describes it for a minute. And so when I saw this, I thought how cool it is that he's taking different aspects of things from globally, around the world, everywhere, because he's highlighting it as something that occurs. And it does all over the world. There are areas with garbage dumps just like this, where people make their living from, live in, and need to use as their form of life, because without it, they couldn't survive. They literally have to live on the leavings of others. And so it was so great to see that he put this out there. And then when he used the idea of Goa is a part of India that's one of those like towns where everybody goes to from the outside. It's been cleaned up. It's out on the beach. And people always talk like, I went to India. I went to hang out in Goa. And Goa is like what my friend from India said. Yeah, that's the palatable portion of India that people often go to when they want to say they've been there. And I thought that was a very interesting thing of her to say. But it was also an interesting choice that Oda made this place called Goa. And then everything around it is, yeah, Goa is a real place. It's in India. And then
the fictional Goa is based off place in the Philippines, but yeah, there is a real Goa.
Yeah. And then the place, the garbage dump place I was talking about with Grace, is in the Philippines. So he kind of mashed together these different ideas and created things that are really taking place inside of the world that he turned into this. And I was like, dude, sometimes you just blow my damn mind with the things that you're doing. So I love the whole premise that the center of Goa is people who can do things like, why are those people living like that? And why aren't they, and why do they don't count as humans? Well, if they wanted to be counted as humans, they would have been born aristocrats. Ah, right. Yes, that does make sense, says the little girl. And I'm like, and that's precisely the kind of attitude that these people have. And he highlights it as just like a funny manga thing, when actually that is truly what many people believe. Like, you can think about different class systems around the world that are based upon what family you were born into. And if you wanted to be treated better, you would have been born into a better family. And then you can think of class systems that were created not on things like whether you're untouchable or you're this or that, but also class systems that are created in other other Western ideals where they'll say things like, you're just not meant to live the same life of comfort and happiness just if you're not rich. That just is what it is. Be rich if you want to be treated well. I think about the book The Ton, the book that the English have that tells you what your aristocratic blood is, who you're related to, and whether or not you are high enough up to marry this person or that person, or whether you have to not because you're not in the book in the right place. So I think it's really, really cool how he highlights all this inequity within the world that we live in through the manga. It's globally, I'm not calling anyone out. Every single place seems to have their own method of, oh, are you poor? Well, that's your own problem, you know? So I really enjoyed the way that he showed this. I also like that this happened because the way that he did his backstory led us up to the point where Luffy learns for the first time when we have the fake death of Sabo about what it looks like to feel like
it's
he
a fake
was
death?
strong.
Let's move on.
When we have Sabo's fake death is when we have Luffy for the first time come to the conclusion that the problem is he's not strong enough and he's not able to save his friends and family. And that's like part one of the Luffy realizing that if he's going to keep people safe, he's going to need to strengthen who he is. And I think that was absolutely freaking brilliant. Then Dragon running into Sabo. It's why I think that Dragon saved Sabo is this thing. This town stinks worse than any trash mountain. It's filled with the stink of the rotten people. And if I stay here, I'll never be free. I'm ashamed I was born into an aristocratic family. And then Dragon says, you've caused this boy to despise his own kind. Go a kingdom. I think that was really important because later when he says, I'm sorry, what I said matters to you. And he says, it does. And I'll never forget it. Because Sabo's talk with Dragon helps to change how Dragon sees himself and how he sees his movement. And he re-strengthens Dragon's commitment and his horror at what this place has done. So I think that was a really important moment for Dragon, but I think it was really important for Sabo because it ends up being the reason I think that Dragon actually pays attention to Sabo and what he's doing and probably sees it and is like, yeah, I'm not going to allow that to happen. This kid is actually very important. What about the replacement kid? Oh, the replacement kid, his stupid frickin' brother.
Stelly.
Don't you think it's funny the way that he makes all of the aristocrats, I mean, inbreeding look all the same and stuff, but he kind of makes them look like the Hitler version of the perfect white person? Thin nose, the way the eyes are done, etc., etc. I was like,
I could
you know
see
what
it.
should happen to Stelly though? I have this really great idea for Stelly.
Yeah, what's your idea for Stelly? I'm excited.
Hear me out. I have a way to make Stelly better. So he's already got a stick up his ass.
Okay.
So you lift him up by the stick.
All right,
and
then.
you stick him on a flagpole and you turn him
Okay.
into the collar of the Daily News. And Stelly can use all of his brains to tell people all about the day. 5 o'clock and not all is well. There's a pirate in the bay. There you go, Stelly. Now you finally have a job to do, you little.
Wow. Okay.
I want to get forward to this place in the story because when dun, 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 and Ace are the Pink Panther and Ace are
Oh my God.
standing there and fighting that piece of crap. It's absolutely incredible to see. And this is how we know that he was here that night and it was relevant. When Dragon pulls up to the beach on his boat and we see our Ivan and we see our Kuma on the boat and all the other people. And he says, this nation is a future of the world in miniature. A world where the unwanted things are discarded can never be truly happy. I will change the world one of these days. And then it shows him coming up to the beach. Those of you with the will to fight for freedom, get on this ship. Dragon. Oh yeah, Dragon. You are the human.
I'll also say, if you're looking for evidence that he might have grabbed a Sabo, that particular line sounds like a guy who just grabbed a Sabo.
It feels really like a guy who grabbed a Sabo. Plus, like it or not, Drock, the fact that you have feelings about Sabo that are in layers says to me that you've had more time with Sabo.
Look, I know this is all technically spoilers and I've been good at it otherwise, but like genuinely, I have encouraged so many people to read this series and not one of the people I've encouraged to read it thought he was dead. So it's just a spoiler that I give so little shits about. I am so precious with spoilers in this series these days. I'm trying my best. Spoilers. So many things I've been so good at not leading her at all. Give me this one. I'm allowed.
I'm gonna
Oh,
go
we
back
saw
to
his
my
flat
stairs
after
for
his
pages.
floating. Yeah, we did see it after he was shot. You're right. Yeah, that doesn't count as a
People,
body.
come on.
That doesn't count as a
We
body.
know he's alive. We know that he's on the ship. We know that he's with Dragon. You know what's so ironic? The idea that Luffy's brother,
Which
who
brother
he
has the best
created,
hat? Oh, that's so hard. I'm voting Ace's. I like Ace's hat a lot.
that's a freaking hard call.
I love all three of those hats.
Anyway.
That's a hard call.
God, let me think. That's a hard one.
I should let you. You should read chapter 0 in our break as well. Chapter 0 should be something that you read during the break.
Okay, I'm thinking. Sorry, I went back and was looking at something. Okay.
Oh
what?
No, just let's go. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's keep it up. We got this.
Freaking nature. Quit talking to me about things you shouldn't talk to me about.
I'm allowed to break.
Ace carrying the Pink Panther is unbelievable. Ace's little tiny body, and then like, I'm not gonna lie, that mom, he really did the thing.
Would you say she's a big mom?
Oh my God, is that who Big Mom is?
No, because Garp went and talked to her, and she's still in the East Blue, and the
Oh
Emperor's
yeah,
leave from
that's
the New
right.
World.
Never mind. That would have been really good. This was one of my very favorite Garp times. At times like that, Roger can be as ferocious as a demon. One time he destroyed the entire army of a nation just because they talked bad about his friend. It's true he can be a violent, short-tempered, and self-centered when he gets mad, but in his heart, he's straightforward and pure like a child. He grew up pretty much the same way Ace did. Maybe because of that, he was especially afraid of losing his loved ones. Despite living the reckless life, he got lucky and survived, and in the end, he was branded King of the Pirates. Society saw him as a great criminal, but his friends trusted him completely. I'm a Navy soldier, and I still couldn't bring myself to hate him. That's why I took Ace under my wing. Are you ready? This broke my heart. Along comes the News mailman. Give it to me. Don't worry, I'm not going into town. That letter's for both of us, isn't it? And here we go. Ace, Luffy, did you get hurt in the fire? I'm worried about you guys, but I know you're all right. Unfortunately for you two, by the time you get this letter, I'll already be at sea. A lot of stuff happened, but I decided to set sail before you guys. My destination is anywhere but here. I'm going to become stronger so I can be a pirate. Pirates are freer than anyone else in the world. We brothers should all become pirates one of these days. Then we can meet again somewhere out there. This ocean is vast and free. We'll meet again someday. Another thing. Ace, are you the oldest brother or am I? It might be weird to have two oldest brother and one little brother, but the bond we share is the greatest treasure I have. Luffy is still weak and a crybaby to boot, but he's still our little brother. Take care of him. Holy shit. You stupid head. Out there.
Yep. And then Saint I Love Shooting Children strolls on up.
And then to see Luffy laying on the ground for days and days, and then when Ace punches him in the back of the head, there's no point in gathering treasure we can't even protect. Ace, I want to get stronger. I want to be lots stronger. So there won't be anything I can't protect, and nobody will ever have to go away again. Don't die, Ace.
Yep.
So you know what Oda said? You know a really good way to crush everybody a little more is to have Luffy talking about Ace dying as a child so that we can see how much it destroys him as an adult.
Yeah. I'm not quite sad enough about Ace dying. I'd love some context that can make it worse.
Thanks, Oda. And then what does stupid Ace say? Remember this, Luffy. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to leave my crybaby little brother behind. I'm not that smart, so I don't know who or what killed Sabo, but whatever it was definitely the opposite of freedom. Sabo died without being able to grasp freedom, but Sabo was our brother, and we're still alive. We have to live our lives and not have regrets. That was way too much. And I literally had just said to myself, well, it got as sad as it could, so I'm feeling pretty okay. My bad. I forgot who wrote this story. When Luffy leaves, he looks up at the sky and screams, "Look at me, Sabo. I'm going out to sea too." Sabo was first. Ace was second. I ended up being third, but I'm not going to lose to them. Just you wait, Ace. I'll catch up to you right away.
That's so brutal.
Oh my God. That's why when he comes back to Luffy in the future, after Luffy said that he needs to get so much stronger, when it comes back, Oda could have done so many things when it came back to present day Luffy. He could have chosen so many things. And what does he choose? Luffy on his knees, wrapped in bandages, screaming to the heavens, "I'm so weak." After we saw how important it was to gain strength for Luffy so that he could protect the people that he loved. That is bullshit, you rat bastard. When we have Garp come back to the town and he puts up the thing and he's like protected by Garp, blah, blah, blah. And then the whole thing with dun dun dun. And then we have person comes, those two were within his reach, but he couldn't save them. Don't you see Garp is hurting more than anyone? And she goes, wrong. Luffy is the one hurting most.
Oh. Oh no.
It was so good. I was so grateful that I got to know just how much she loved the boys in that time, because it made me feel like I knew that Luffy and Sabo and Ace got to feel what it was like to be loved by someone, and it made me love Ace's end moments a little, that he took a moment for her, that he took some time to look at Luffy and say, "Please go tell her I said goodbye."
Yeah.
And thank you. Like, it made me feel so deeply happy for them that somebody cared for them so much, because they had such hard lives. And yeah, goddamn. Dun, dun, dun. And then when we have our pineapple-headed pineapple brain standing in front of the thing with red hair Shanks, and I saw the memorials that they made, and he says, "I don't know how to thank you, red hair." And there's Edward Newgate, and oh, Ace. God. I'm fine. I had this vision in my head that made me start crying. I saw the memorial of the two, and I saw Luffy giving the hat back to red hair Shanks in front of this, and then walking up and taking Ace's hat and putting it on.
Oh.
And if he chooses to do that in the end, if Oda did a moment like that, I think that I would cry so hard I'd actually cry my spleen out. I thought to myself, in a perfect world, what I see is red hair Shanks taking the hat back, but I think I see what you're saying, but I could see Shanks turning around and saying, "Give this to somebody who you believe in."
Yeah. Look, I hope that could happen. I think
you know what? I need to believe that Oda isn't going to crush our whole soul. And you know how I feel about Luffy in the end of his thing already. So let's not go into that. People can't handle it. The page where Luffy, I know you're in a lot of pain right now. I was surprised to hear what Ace did for you. It's exactly like Captain Roger would do. I wish the captain would run away and let himself cry sometimes. And you see so many people who clearly were part of Whitebeard's giant armada. So now I'm like, okay, is somebody going to take over Whitebeard's armada? Are they going to regroup? Are they going to become other people's? They can't just float aimlessly. Like, it feels like not a plan. Do you know what I mean? So I keep wondering, like, is it just disbanded? Is it unifying? Like, it's way too many people to just allow it to eviscerate itself and evaporate into the clear blue yonder. I love the way that old Jim takes Luffy back. He's fine to push him down. He lets him roil through his emotions. He forces him. A giant wall stands between your eyes and the world. You can't see the way forward right now. Regret and guilt are consuming you. It may be painful for you now, Luffy, but fight it. Don't dwell on what you've lost. What's gone is gone forever. Try to remember what you still have. And Luffy leans down and stares at his hands and starts lifting fingers. I have my crew. Oh, I love old Jim so much. Can't even tell you how much I love that dude. He is the only one I would have wanted with Luffy when he came out.
He was so perfect for it. Okay, so Jinbei being so committed to him reminds me of the thing I want to talk about. Throughout all of the flashback, we see Sabo and Ace being so much stronger than Luffy, being more capable than him. And yet, through all of his career, every time we see Ace when he's not with Luffy, he's doing nothing but telling people how great his brother is and how his brother can do it, how his brother can be king of the pirates, to look out for his brother, to watch out for him, that he's going to blow them away. Luffy was weaker than either of of them, and yet through all of Ace's career as a pirate, the first thing he does to everyone, every time we see him, is hype up his brother.
Yeah, I know. It's so crushing. Like, he just loved his brother and was so proud of them. And I like how he says, Jinbei, you know what I saw there? A kid brother like you makes a big brother worry. I bet it gives you guys plenty of grief. Take care of him, okay? He's not the same Luffy who couldn't do anything but follow me around. Now he has a crew of his own that he can depend on. He'll be okay no matter what happens. And I feel relieved.
He's just loved Luffy so much.
Oh,
Ah,
you rat bastard.
yeah.
I really intended to go dark Mama Drock here. I really did. I said to myself earlier, self, I can't cry this much.
It's so good and so painful.
It's so terrible. Okay, Rayleigh is the most ridiculously cool dude in the entire world. He's so hot.
True.
Here he is. He's like, I am Rayleigh. I just punched a giant sea thing in the face and I walk out. Oh, it's you people. We met at Saboti Archipelago, didn't we? Oh my god, it's the Dark King Rayleigh. My ship was sunk in a storm, so I had to swim here. I don't move like I used to. I guess I'm getting old. A storm? There aren't any storms in the Calm Belt. Did you swim from another region? Yeah, that's right. Rayleigh. Remember the name, biatch.
Yep.
I'm assuming Luffy is on the island, am I right? Nice side-eye, Rayleigh. You bombastic baddie. But when he gets there, and we'll talk about this more, but I gotta just a little bit talk about it. When he gets there, and Luffy is, oh, hello, old man Rayleigh. Oh, hello, Luffy. I'm glad I found you so quickly. What are you doing here? I was gonna use the Vivi card to get back to Saboti Archipelago. Where are the others? Oh, I gave my Vivi card to Shaki. I couldn't go anywhere unless I did. I love this because Rayleigh was in a storm so bad that it sunk his goddamn boat. And he wraps Luffy's hat up and swims it to him.
Yep.
Swims it. Which talks about that way that Luffy grabs people and creates a desire within him to help Luffy out, to do what matters to Luffy. If you're going to swim through all of that time and you're going to take the time in a giant storm strong enough to take your boat down, that's a whole different thing. People are drawn into helping Luffy. Okay. Let's get into something. We have that flashback with Kuma. I am a leader of the Revolutionary Army. I want to help the Straw Hats escape this place. And I'm sorry for being so abrupt earlier, but let me explain myself. I don't have much time left. Who is still a revolutionary leader and allows themselves to have the last of their humanity taken away and become something else? What is going on with this man's life? It's where I started to wonder about Dr. Vegapunk and whether or not gold star for predicting Kuma as an ally. Yeah, wouldn't you say?
You know what? No, because you predicted that back in Thriller Bark. So yeah, I think we get a gold star here.
I have a suggestion. Whether you accept it or not is, of course, entirely up to you. As soon as he said that, you know what I thought to myself? But it's not going to happen and I'm really mad at it. Oh my God. Can I please get myself a training montage? No. But at least I was happy that he was going to be the one who is going to be training.
Yeah, you get a gold star for predicting
Haki.
that the Haki teacher for Luffy would be Rayleigh.
Did I predict we were getting a montage or did I say I hope we would?
I think you predicted, but I want to hold off on this because there is always the chance we'll get a montage flashback.
I love montages. Did I mention that ever?
I don't remember you ever saying you love montages. Sorry, what's your opinions on montage, actually?
Thank you for asking. I really freaking love a montage. It's one of my favorite things.
Montage.
Each one of our great good kids on the Straw Hats are all making their own way out, and all of a sudden...
Apparently, the anime does it as a montage, which makes me feel like we don't give a gold star, but we also don't give a purple mushroom, and we just call this, like, it's spiritually correct, because the anime adaptation went, you know, there should really be a montage here.
There should have been a montage! I'm sad there isn't. Quite honestly, maybe I can get an attaboy. Thank you, Red. Atamum. I like how all of our kids are out and about trying to leave off of their different places so they can get to Luffy, and then they all see Luffy's thing, but somebody was like a little bit worried about one particular person. I'm looking at you, Zoro. They're looking at you. They don't think you're very clever. It's okay, Zoro. You've got
Zoro,
other assets.
You're good at lots of stuff. like swords.
You don't feel bad. And so everybody immediately is like, I see it, Luffy. I know what you want. I'm immediately going to start building myself up and getting stronger for the crew. And Zoro is like, I don't know what he wants, but I know this means something. And I wanted to go and rub his back and be like, you got this, Zoro. You got it, man.
Perona, are you good at puzzles?
That's a thing he could have done. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going out to sea right now, says Zoro. You actually change your mind, Zoro, just so you know. I love Nami fooling everyone. Like, one of Nami's greatest assets is her acting ability. That chick could travel the world doing nothing but acting. She could be on the big screen. I don't know if they have a big screen, but if they do.
I mean, they have at least one big screen. They showed Ace Die on it.
Agreed, but we don't know if there's movies of any kind. Do we find out if there's movies? I don't know. You won't tell me because that's who you are.
Well,
here we go.
At the very least know that live theater is a thing because of Victoria Sindri.
Yeah, that we do know. And so I think Nami would rock it out because she's like,
movies, okay.
Ace died right before his eyes and I don't even know about it. And then they take her away and then she goes, okay, goodbye, thank you. I was like, oh, Nami.
Alternate universe where Nami gets talent scouted, becomes a movie star, pays Arlong back in like 2 months.
Yes, it's because of the area where we have Frankie, where he's with all the people and they say, take a look at the mountain and see how strangely it's shaped. Dr. Vegapunk is a child, by the way, in case you're wondering. He did that when he was just a child. It was supposed to save everybody from the cold. He worked really hard on it, using wild animals for labor. But this day, it remains unfinished. It's a geothermal system for heating the entire island. But he was always plagued by the same problems. He had to complete his blueprints in his head, and he outstripped the existing technology. On top of that, he couldn't get the funding that he needed to perfect his inventions. He wanted to help us so badly. He wept. When we saw how deeply he cared, our heart warmed towards him. Tell me that doesn't sound like the type of thing that means that Dr. Vegapunk is actually good, but is playing the long game.
It's possible. That was my read of it for sure.
But I don't know. I don't feel convinced on it, but on the other hand, I kind of feel like it's possible. So we're not at the I'm going to predict and let you know. I love where each one of our straw hats is, so I just want to take a little pop in and say the only other place that you probably could have put Brook is in the same place that Usopp is in. That's the only other place he probably wouldn't have gotten immediately killed by people being like, talking skeleton.
Especially a talking skeleton who just appears.
Yeah, out of nowhere. So I think the place that he was in was good, especially when you're talking about people looking for signs from the devil and trying to raise the devil, which is kind of a weird choice. But I do appreciate that that happened. And where is Sanji? I love where Sanji is. I freaking love that he's with Ivan, first of all. I freaking love that the same stupid picture is once again biting Sanji in his ass. Sanji is like, it's me, goddammit. When it first happened, I didn't think that Oda was going to use it as a continuing joke. So I was absolutely like laughing my ass off and being like, are we bringing this shit back again? That wanted poster coming back and picking his butt every single time is amazing to me. But then to find out that there is a method of putting Haki into food, I then said to you, like,
I will say, that doesn't feel spelled out. But I think that's a cool interpretation of how they can do it.
Oh, so I have oh yeah, that's right. That's not what the thing is. I forgot. I have decided.
They just say they have a way of putting more into their food to get more out of it.
I think, and I think we'll find out eventually, and so you can make it a prediction.
Prediction.
The reason that the food has all these strengths and all of the ability to make people better is because they have learned how to cook Haki into food, and that they've learned to preserve it so people can eat it, and it changes them. And so I think that it is amazing to me because it's going to be more confirmation, in my opinion, that every single one of our straw hats has Haki, and that they're finding different ways to show that our crew has Haki, because I think that Luffy has the ability to sense Haki in people, and that's why he brings them into Team Luffy and Straw Hatdom, is that they have the right. But then I started to say, like, you didn't try to make him look like the wanted poster, did you, Draw?
Someone commented it and it seemed so funny.
Drock.
I'll undo it. It's just so funny.
Drock, don't do Sanji dirty like this.
It's so funny.
You rotten turnip. Poor Sanji.
I still have my crew. I'm just thinking of them all like this and except for Sanji.
Hey, YouTube, why don't you comment on the way Sanji is here? That would be terrible. Don't comment on it, YouTube.
Did you just try regular psychology and then switch to reverse psychology?
You betcha.
Wouldn't it be funny now if I deleted him, then I drew handsome Duval?
Oh my god, that would be amazing. Whatever you do, YouTube, maybe comment or don't comment about poor Sanji. Once I found out that, in my opinion, you could put Haki into food, then I started to wonder about the different methods of putting Haki into stuff. Now, this is just me out on a theory table, so, calm your tits, everyone.
Okay.
But what about if you could start doing things like infusing devil fruit with Haki before eating it, or creating a recipe with devil fruit where you added Haki to it? So I started to think about all the different ways that you could imbue things. I was also wondering, like, could you imbue a painting with Haki, and would it change things? Could you give people a feeling of being calm or a feeling of being angry,
if that's
or
possible,
whatever?
Could that be what Miss Golden Week is doing
Thank
without
you.
realizing
That's where I was about to get to.
Okay,
You and I are
okay.
braining
I'm seeing
it
it
out.
more now.
And so then I was like, we got our Miss Golden Week and we talked about colors and the power of them and how different colors have different vibrations. I think that's part of a Haki thing that we're going to learn about. And I think that Miss Golden Week can use Haki infused into her drawing. And it's why people have these different emotions. And so I started to think about all the different ways that we might not know how Haki is being used yet. And I think Miss Golden Week is one of the ways we see that could be right.
Impossible since it worked on Luffy even when he couldn't see the colors.
Exactly. Because it can't just be color. It can't. Because otherwise that would have worked on Luffy. So I think that it's a Haki piece. Haki. That is my feelings on the Haki. And that is why I want to predict that Haki can be infused into things, and that Miss Golden Week, that's what she is using as Haki into her, not hockey, Haki.
I mean, Haki, you're just trying to find whatever ways you can to pronounce it that don't sound like hockey is the thing.
I love that Robin is being intentionally picked up by the group for the revolutions, and then we find out that they have been trying to find her for all these damn years. So while Robin has been running away, hiding, finding places where she can survive, eking out happiness in the smallest ways throughout her life, all this time, the revolutionaries have been trying to find her. She has been a thing that they've been searching for. So whether or not Robin ends up trusting them, or whether Robin ends up working with them or for them, the thing that was important to me is that we found out, and Robin found out, that all this time she was wanted, not for being a devil child, not for being wrong, but for the worth of her study and her hometown. And I just hope this sinks into Robin, and that it gives her a different feeling and helps to heal some of the wounds of her childhood. Because I think that we can underestimate this moment that they said, the light of the revolution, that's what we call you. The light of the revolution. Can you imagine the feeling, the balm on Robin's soul to be called the light of the revolution? A person who has been called someone who should never have been born. To hear people call you the light of the revolution. And while we searched for you for more than 10 years, you were the only survivor of the country that took on the world. O'Hara, please do not fear us. We are on your side. Our boss has told us to guard you at all costs. Even if the government comes after you, the supreme commander of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon, Luffy's father. What a strange twist of fate. And then when they say, no, there's somewhere I have to go, and I don't need your protection. I have my own friends. I love that she feels the bomb and she still says to herself, I have friends. I made a place for myself. I created a place where my heart belongs. And that is amazing. And I like that when Robin is going to have to strengthen herself and spend time working on herself for when they come back together. I love that she's with these people who value her so highly. Because later on, when we see Robin and the ship, after they get the message from Luffy and decide what they're going to do, to have Robin stand on the ship and say, no, I'm going to stay outside. I don't really trust you yet. And they're like, okay, that's fine. Bring her something to cover her up so she's warm, and a couch so she could sit on it. And then the person's calling back, and a wind blocker. I just love this idea of all of the people protecting Robin, feeding Robin, covering her in warmth, surrounding her for the very thing that people have reviled her for. She is being championed for the things that people have said are the evils in her, and that's freaking gold. And that's the people she gets to spend the 2 years for.
I have a question for you. In those 2 years, do you think she's going to teach anyone how to read poneglyphs?
Interesting that you're asking me that. So, like, here's why it's interesting. Like, are
Uh-huh.
you leading me there, or are you hoping I guess it, or is it a
Because
thing
it's
that
a thing I've
happened?
seen people wonder, is why.
Okay.
Most of the time that I ask you a really pointed question, it's just because it's a common wonder I've seen people have.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that it would be good, but Robin would feel, in my opinion, Robin would feel that reading poneglyphs comes with a great deal of training. Because remember, when she was learning to become an archaeologist, it was a very big deal when she met the exams and came to a place where she was considered to be allowed to know those. And she went through so much training. I don't think that she would shortcut that.
Unless there was someone there who was already a really well-trained anthropologist, or archaeologist, I agree that like she probably wouldn't. But you know?
Yeah, like, so if there is somebody there who has the rigor of academia, like if Sabo, for instance, whose only academia that he was interested in was navigation, but if he got into some other things and was is a true academic, or if she found somebody who had gone into archaeology, maybe. But I don't think she would shortcut and allow people to know something. She would feel that the weight of the academia needed to be upon their shoulders so they understood just how important that information was and their work was. I can't imagine her just handing it out like a magician's secret.
That's kind of where I'm at.
It is concerning, though, that Robin is the only one available to do it. So I do hope that eventually she does run into somebody who has the training where she thinks that she could parse it out. Because if Robin goes, that information goes. Like that dragon comes to this place where he realizes that Luffy isn't a child, so fine, everybody can know who my father is and who I fathered, that the protection of who I am and who we are to each other doesn't need to exist in the same way anymore. We have lots of stuff we want to talk to you about since the jailbreak. I love that Dragon is about to find out what a badass his son is, because Luffy killed it. Impelled down, one of the coolest things ever. That's something I really want to know. Why would he allow the government to tell him what to do? He isn't the Kuma I knew anymore. He tried to kill me. So I'm sorry to tell you this, buddy, but your Kuma has been unkuma'd.
Was it a prediction you made that Kuma was a former revolutionary that we've had confirmed? I think because you predicted that back in Thriller Bark, so yeah.
Yeah, I did predict that back in Thriller Bark.
So I think you get a gold star there. There you go.
Thank you for protecting the boat, Duval. High five, Duval. That's all I have to say about that point. We're not gonna belabor the point that Duval is protecting the boat, but I do want to say high five to you, Duval. Rock it out.
Because otherwise, people would take that boat.
Too cool to exist all on its own. You just can't just sit it there. Really interesting that when we go back to this Straw Hat Luffy is always in the news, but considering he's Garp's grandson, I'm not surprised. What's his connection to Rayleigh? I seriously doubt he'd ever return to the stage after so many years away. Jinbei is fully against us now. I find that very unfortunate. The Room of the Five Elders at Sacred Marjoa, the Red Line. Blackbeard has already begun his rampage in the New World. He's already taken out one of the rookies worth over $100 million. He knows Whitebeard's territories through and through. Because he's joining, symbolized peace and understanding between our species and the fishmen. The balance of the three great powers cannot be depended upon any longer. Who can we use to fill the Seven Warlords' 3 empty seats? We should wait for further development in the New World. The balance of power among the pirates will be shifting soon. We must pick the ones who have the greatest influence. Of the pirate candidates for the 4 empires, he's the only frontrunner there is. No historical precedent for a man who has eaten 2 devil fruits. Only the remaining 4 emperors himself could possibly defeat him, and maybe Marco the Phoenix. The largest problem here is, as always, the D. Oh, you bet it is. God damn. I really hope that I'm right, that the D comes from some inherited will of people who come from a bloodline of the lost people who were taken over by the dragons of shitbaggery. I think that it would be such a beautiful thing for the past influencing the present and being a problem for them. I think that would make me so happy. What is Rayleigh's full name? Do we know?
I think that his family name is Silvers. He's
Do
Silvers
we know if
Rayleigh.
he's Rayleigh D. Silvers, though?
As far as we're aware right now, he is Silvers Rayleigh.
I feel like he will be a Rayleigh D. Silvers.
Zoro's not a D. He's just Roro Noah Zoro.
I know, I agree, because Silver's Dark King Rayleigh. You're right. Yeah, Dark King. The D is for Dark King. I did forget about Buggy the Clown. Buggy D. Clown. Bite me, buggy D-clown. I am glad he's back with his people.
So do you have any guesses for who might be one of the new 3 warlords that they want to get?
Yeah. So we got our new pirates. If they're stupid, they'll pick the kid, and they are dumb. So I imagine they would.
I will say this. This was me reading first read through that made kid feel less likely. Is just that he attacks civilians. Like that just feels like harder to sell to the people.
My wonder though is if they would pick the kid thinking that they could tell him, if you want to be this member and you want to be this high up, you simply cannot attack civilians. That's part of the thing. As a way of helping to control, as this person says, they're too murdery. And I'm like, well, maybe that would be one of their methodologies of having a locus of control over the kid. So I think that he has too much intrinsic violence to bring him on in that capacity, but I still feel like they might do it anyways. But I don't feel particularly comfortable about it. I don't know if it's going to be Bonnie or not. Bonnie has some sort of power or ability that isn't Haki. And the reason I say this, and you and I talked about it, and I think, you know, it could be an information thing or something, because Blackbeard and Luffy, in my opinion, are both able to notice the Haki in someone. The Haki calls to them, and that's one of the reasons that they're able to get the crew that they get and surround themselves with the people that they're able to surround themselves with. Yet, Blackbeard is like, I don't want you, Jewelry Bonnie, Glutton Bonnie. You're too weak. I can't believe that somebody like you could have a bounty of $100 million. So that makes you wonder, if he's not able to pick up on an innate Haki and a will, then I think there's something else about her, because when the person from the government shows up at the shores and sees her, they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe you're out in the world. That is way too dangerous. So it could actually be, I think, information that she has or something like that. So I could see her being picked. I saw the comments because right there at the top, it's the one that shows up when you just look at the video. Underneath says, I'm glad you like Bonnie so much. And so I looked at that and I thought to myself, oh, that's nice. And then I was like, wait, no, that's off. Usually when somebody says something like that to me, they also put down like, I'm glad you like Bonnie so much. She's one of my favorites, or she rocks, or whatever. Let me check how many other people commented on this. So I'm not going to look in the comments. I'm not a cheater, but I do want to use information on the edge. So I opened it up and looked. 12 people commented on, I'm glad you like Bonnie so much. Come on. So I have ascertained that one of 3 things is possible. I'm a cheater. Bite me. Number 1, we are either going to have Bonnie be one of the people who becomes one of the 7 warlords, and that's who's going to be chosen, and she's going to make a decision between going to Impel Down, which is a shit show right now, but whatever, we'll see. Number 2, she could end up being a straw hat, because if people were saying, oh, I'm glad you liked Bonnie so much, one of the other reasons could be Bonnie ends up being a straw hat and she doesn't have all her crew with her anymore, and therefore that's the area that she ends up. Or number 3, Bonnie has massive important information and ends up taking on more crew and becoming a larger armada. Now, I don't think it's number 3. I'd love it to be number 3, but I don't think so. So I think it's either going to be Bonnie ends up being as one of the 7 pirates, or number 2, Bonnie ends up being a straw hat. You know what I'm glad? I'm glad that 2 people, after the work that happened in Marineford, decided maybe I should retire, because I do not like that they refuse to tell people the world, all the different people who have escaped from the prison. I do not like that I had to stand up on top of the thing and watch them murder my grandson. And so I like that it ended up making both of them think maybe it was time to retire. Do they let them retire? No, they're like, bite my butt. You can't retire. You're going to have to train people in the new era. Every generation must serve justice. I thought that was pretty cool that he was like, yeah, I can't be in the actual Navy anymore. I can't do it. And they won't let him retire, but at least they got to push themselves out to the edges. And I thought that was pretty cool. This 16 ring incident, is that some kind of message? Yeah, it is, biatch. Watch your, oh my God. And our boy got himself some Haki.
What are we talking about now?
Kobe.
Yeah, you're right. He got observation Haki, and that's why he was freaking out like, stop killing people.
Yeah, he got the same powers that we saw up top. Oh, Kobe, my boy, I'm so happy for you. I'm also pretty sad for you.
And he was like, I can hear the dying screams of thousands of men. Please stop murder.
That was very similar to the up there. And I felt bad for him. But on the other hand, observation, I'm so happy. You're going to do such good things with that. And you know what? You're going to bring a little joy to Garp, because Garp, he's not a happy boy right now. He needs a little happiness. Okay. And the Pirate King's former first mate was with him, the Dark King Silver Rayleigh. Right now, Marine Forward workers are rebuilding the city, and spectators are gathered from around the world. And civilians of all kinds are coming and going at will throughout the oceans. So this made me think about something I hadn't noticed up until now in this one place when he was going on about civilians are coming and going throughout the world. I was like, do civilians not travel? Are the only people who travel freely throughout here the people who are in the Navy or people who are pirates?
We know that at least some rich people do because of the cruiser that Sanji was on, but nobles can. Civilians, I think, are stuck in their country.
Because it started to make me think about the locus of control that the government has. And I started to wonder, like, are they keeping normal people from being able to travel freely?
Well, the sea train exists. Some people can travel.
But the sea train, does it exist between multiple islands, like all islands? It felt like it was only like a relatively small area.
It does only connect a couple islands. So some people travel, but travel is definitely not that easy. The big thing is travel between the blues is basically unheard of.
And it's clear now with how fast people like Garp are moving and other people within the government that the government has a method of moving in between like East Blue, West Blue, North Blue, blah, blah, blah. They have a means of getting to and fro much easier. I'm kind of wondering, like, it's interesting that they're specifically mentioning that civilians of all kinds, it's very highlighted, are coming and going at will. So to me, that's a very interesting statement to show that they feel like they've lost some control over civilians, and civilians have the option and ability to move at will throughout the territory. Like, it really feels like that's a very big deal, because then civilians are able to get the information that isn't just propaganda. So we know we have the news coups taking news all over the world, but once civilians are able to talk openly to each other and move around the world, it starts to make me think about how civilians will be able to share information, and it will keep the government from having such deep control, because once there's a freedom of movement, there's a freedom of information. Also, after Monkey D. Luffy entered the plaza, he rang the ox bell 16 times. When I saw the ox bell being rung, and I found out that it was about starting a new year, but he used it as starting a new age, which P.S. phenomenal. Well done, friend. After I saw that, I started to think about the other bell that we saw in Skypiea. And P.S. if people don't like Skypiea and they skip it, shame on you. Shame. Because Skypiea has set a whole bunch of shit up. When you see this bell being rung, and I talked about how I feel that in the future there's going to be some kind of joy brought out by this bell, maybe by other instruments as well. When you see this bell being used, it was that exact same thing as we saw in Skypiea. And when I talked about how Romans and English later on would use the customs, the traditions, etc., of the people that they conquered to make those people accept their new rule easier. And when I saw this bell being rung, I thought that's freaking fascinating. What parts of that were stolen from the culture that was covered up? And therefore, how are they using this in a way that eventually is going to bring out missing people, missing ideas, missing things? And so I think it was very poignant that it is a bell, because I think that the bells in the future are going to be a thing that connect parts of the world again, like I told them before when I was talking about Skypiea. So fascinating that it's a freaking bell being rung. I like the idea of bells being rung all over the world, and we'll get into that later. It turns out I do not like the kid anymore. In fact, I might like him less.
Which kid?
You know, the kid. The kid. The one who kills people.
Charlos?
What are you talking about?
What? Oh, kid. I forget that you call kid the kid.
Yeah, no, I don't like him anymore. He sucked. Eustace the kid. I think he sucked. And I hate him more. I thought the new world would be more fun. What's with these cowards? Give us a break. We're just leaving these waters. Let us return to paradise alive. Oh, you mean the loving bosom of your families? If you're not prepared to die, don't come to these waters. Then you have a person who has been crucified. Not a fan. But did I ever see the bottom of Maxim?
The Arc Maxim?
Yeah.
I think we saw it.
Because I don't remember there being sucky-uppy weird things on the bottom of Maxim.
Why? What? I'm so confused.
Well, because Capone Gang Beji, his boat gets lifted out of the water and sucked up. And there's weird, like, almost octopus suckers on the bottom of the thing that's above him, lifting him up. So is that Eminem come down to lift up Capone?
The Arc Maxim did not have anything that wasn't, like, lightning related, I think, on the bottom.
Yeah, so that's why I looked at this and I was like,
oh, it's a weird rock, not the Maxim. Just a weird rock, people say.
no, it's not just a weird rock. Come on, people. It's got weird sucky things on it that look like octopus suckers. So I am on page 14 of 19 in chapter 594, and it seems to be like sucky, uppy, weird things in it, or rocket or something. Almost looks moon-shaped, but I don't know. But it says, no, we're being sucked up into it, which is why I called it weird, sucky, uppy things that's taking him up. And I was like, well, it can't be the Arc Maxim, because I think I saw the bottom of it and I don't recall it having anything like that.
My take is that all of these random shots are just meant to show us how weird the new world is, and that Luffy made the right choice by taking a breather to get ready.
Well, he's being sucked up, so I don't know if it's a new island and it's in the air and it's sucking him up, but there are definitely sucky-uppy things taking over this dude and his...
I do love the scientific term of sucky-uppy things.
I want to maintain a high standard of scientific possibility, and that's why I call them the sucky-uppy things.
Yeah, I understand. I get what you're going for, and I think you're doing a great job at it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I strive for it.
Okay, apparently the Arc Maxim had jet dials on the bottom, which do the opposite of sucky uppy. Those are blowy outies.
Yeah, that would be a push off. Those are blowy aways. So no, that would never
blowy
work.
aways, sorry.
Yeah, I love that Basil Hawkins does the thing, because we talked about this earlier. I'm Brownbeard. Right, I'll try again. I'll try not to laugh. Okay, here we go. I'm Brownbeard, the great pirate Brownbeard. The bounty on my head is over 80 million berries. Remember my name. This is my territory now.
My guy, I'm literally famous for having a bounty of over 100 million. Why are you bragging about 80? My guy.
You know, bite a rotten Twinkie. I see your name is ridiculous. I thought I'd misheard you. Let me tell you two things. One, I hate jokes. Two, the shadow of death is on your face today. Oh, yeah. You remember when I told you that I really enjoy me some Basil Hawkins?
I do remember this.
I just want to highlight that I super stand by that.
Hawkins is not one who's ever done something for me, but I never judge anyone for their supernova of choice, because everybody has a weird supernova that stands out to them as amazing for no good reason. And I cannot defend liking Scratchman Apu. There's no reason for it. He's just great.
I really like him. I don't know why. He just is. He's kind of cool. And I hate his design.
Really?
I kind of love him though. I don't know what it is. Like he grew on me immediately. I like that Arouge is at a place where it's just like nonstop lightning coming down to his face. And then we've got a chick who looks like she just came out from Boil, Boil, Bubble and Troubling, who's like, hey, would you want to like an umbrella? An umbrella? She literally just says, would you like an umbrella?
The idea that he is one of Enaru's priests who abandoned him, it makes this island so much funnier, where he's like, really? Of all the places I could end up, I end up on Lightning Island? Great.
It's pretty amazing in my opinion.
Oh my god, even if not, it's so sad for him because he's a Birkin and Enaru destroyed Burka with lightning. So he's like, cool.
What I loved is this once again shows the craziness of Blackbeard. He goes to an island. He's having his moment. He's captured Jewelry Bonnie, which, you know what? Then he goes and says, like, you're way too weak. I don't know how somebody like you got a bounty of over 100 million berries. The new world is only for the strong. And to think you came all the way from the South Blue. Unfortunately, your journey's at an end. And then he's like, but if you'll be my woman. Oh.
Yep. Terrible.
Yeah, I'll take you along. And then she kicks the shit out of him from being tied up. And then they're like, women should have class. I have enough ruffians. You know what? Zay, ha, ha, ha. Stuff it up your ass sideways. And so then when dude comes in and rescues her, because Blackbeard does exactly what he does. Oh, shit. Did they bring a warship I promised? There's a ship, all right, but I don't think it's present. Well, you know what? I'm not ready for this. Let's get the hell out of here. It made me laugh my ass off because that's exactly the right thing for him.
Yep.
That he would be like, yeah, no, I haven't played with my abilities enough yet. There's no way I'm taking this person on. I need a little more time. And if I take him out, I'm not ready for what falls out on the other side of that yet.
Yeah.
So there's no way.
Even if he wins, what does he have to gain? So he's just like, why bother?
Exactly. He's way too practical. He's not going to get involved in a pissing match when he can't win.
The series is constantly trying to enforce the idea that Blackbeard's the second best pirate. That's going to be the thesis of the Blackbeard video. What killed Ace? Not being willing to run from Akainu. Why is Blackbeard still alive? He's willing to run from Akainu.
He's just like, when it's time to run, you run.
Simple as.
Thank you for the purple triangles.
Thank you so much for the wonderful bits.
I don't know what they are, but they're pretty. So this is what's so awesome and why that I was like, and we know who this is. This is a man who I hate with my whole heart.
Yeah.
A house should drop on him. And when he said, a cold shiver ran through me when I heard you'd run away from the government, but it's all over now. I was like, sweet baby pickle. What does this chick know?
Immediately becomes way more mysterious.
Oh, yeah. And I love that Blackbeard didn't find out or know whatever it was.
It's clearly something he's not privy to, because if she's this valuable to the government, he might have been more interested in taking her otherwise.
Exactly. And I love when crap face, stupid headed, pink flamingo doofus brain goes in for his meeting. Who the hell is he meeting with? Who is wearing this wicked hat? Who has this hat? It's a bowler hat.
Who do we know who owns a bowler hat?
I don't know. I was trying to remember who had a damn bowler hat.
I cannot think of anybody.
So he meets this person with a bowler hat. No laughing matter. Can't you do your job right? Watch your mouth. When did you become my boss? I don't care how much pull you have with the government. I'm a pirate. It has nothing to do with me. If I lose interest in our little deal here, I can quit being one of the 7 warlords anytime, and don't forget that. Who is Bowler Hat?
But how could Moria have vanished? How could he suddenly disappear? The shadow fruit shouldn't let him disappear.
You're funny. I started to think that he went into one of his crews or went into Don DeFlamingo.
That'd be cool. My theory was just the very simple Absalom saved him. Because say what you will about Moria, his crew loves him.
Yeah, I could see that. So they're sitting in the world government, they're at an office desk, and they're in the sacred place, but I'm just like, who the hell is this? Because he told him when he was killing him that somebody much more powerful had sent him to do the bidding. So I'm like, oh. In my hope of hopes, he shoved himself into somebody, but then what would happen to his body? Because his body just disappeared. So I don't know. And I could see that Absalom could wrap his see-through body around him and take him and blah, blah, blah.
Because anything he touches, he can turn invisible.
He can turn it invisible as well. And it makes more sense. And sometimes you have to get licked by Absalom. That just is what it is. Get it? Because he won. He got licked by him, but he licks everything. Okay, here we go.
Kaito, you know what else? Who's in the bowler hat in the spoiler channel? Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, I know bowler hat guy is important. Now I want to know more. I want to go back to Chopper. I love that when Chopper goes back to the island, he pulls an Usopp because Chopper admires Usopp so much. So it shows that Chopper actually does know that Usopp is the Sniper King. At the same time as it shows that Chopper's like, I'm going to take a page from my hero Usopp. He goes back down to the island with the birds and the people and he says, no, I'm not that guy. I'm somebody else. I'm his friend, Chopper Mask.
It's such a good bit.
I mean, at least Usopp had Sniper King, but Chopper Mask? Where did Chopper go? The disguise isn't fooling anyone. It's not a disguise. Don't be so cruel, guys. Maybe we should just humor him. And then he gets so upset that they're humoring him. Oh, geez, when you're nice, it makes me feel worse and pulls it off. But I love that he took a moment to become Chopper Mask when he came back down. Just like his good buddy Usopp. I also love that he completely is the most rude, decimating asshat to these people. This island is filled with powerful medicinal plants. We have great pharmacology. I misjudged these villagers based on their looks, but now that I think about it, their weapons were all really high tech. There were a lot of plants, blah, blah, blah. And he says, they look like a tribe of primitive savages, but their technological achievements are impressive. There's so much to learn here. Raccoon? Maybe you're not aware that you were thinking out loud. That first part was really rude.
Such a good bit, though.
So good. You know what else I loved about this, besides the fact that Chopper was the rudest thing ever, and said that they look like primitive savages, and I was like, oh my God, man.
Chopper, no.
I love that we got to see every single one of the Straw Hats take a time to remember why it is that they joined and what it was that Luffy did for them that brightened them up. What sunshine Luffy brought into his life. And it was really important that that happened because they've only been together for about 6 months at this point. What do you think? 6 months?
I think it's somewhere like 3 or 4, but yeah, not a long time.
Shit. And now they're going to spend 2 years with other people building themselves to come back and be a stronger crew. In order for that to be the truth, you have to know that you need to legitimately have a deep emotional connection and have had something fired up inside of you that you would do all of this work and put all of this in to come back to your same people again. And so you have 6 or 7 months that you've been together, or 3 or 4, I don't know. This person says 6 or 7. And then you're going to spend 2 years apart building yourself up to be a better crew. It's really important that we're reminded of what it is that Luffy brought to each one of them, specifically Luffy, because they are rallying around Luffy. And so it's really, really important that that's what we see. And I really appreciated that we got to see Chopper with "Shut up, come with us," and standing there and bringing this new light and life into Chopper's life. And it was important that we got to see Robin standing there remembering when Spandam was saying, like, basically, "Bite me, you don't deserve to be alive." And Luffy asking her to choose to live. Every single one of them has a reason why Luffy is the thing that turned hope on inside of their hearts. And it was really important for us to be remembered that Luffy is the glue that drags them back, or the magnet that pulls them back towards him, so that we can understand that even though they've only been together for this short time, they are coming back together. And that the draw of Luffy is much, much stronger, and the draw of being family. And this tells us already they have become family. And it's really important that we make that connection, because then we think about who Luffy was as a young man and the way that found family is everything to him. And he attaches himself and they attach themselves to him because he gives them absolute reason to believe in him. And then we remember that he inherited apparently this same type of will from his father, that his father is also the type of person who brings out this loyalty in others. And we get to see kind of that parallel universe between the two of them. And I think it's so cool and so important, because while all these people are having their adventures and they're becoming stronger for the crew, it's incredible that we are reminded, no, they're coming back. They're family now. 2 years is going to be nothing to them. That 6 months is everything. It's where they learn to be family, and it's where they learn to feel love. And Luffy turned a light inside of them that they want to go back to. That's awesome.
I fully agree and have nothing to add.
Zoro? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
You know I love a Mihawk, right?
Are you ready to cry?
No, I'm not going to cry. I'm Dark Mama Drock.
Dark Mama Drock.
Dark Mama Drock. Dark Mama Drock. Don't cry. She just releases excess body water. Okay, Zoro having this time with Mihawk. Mihawk has already told him, you need to fight the donkeys. He needs to fight the donkey. Why are you doing this? You're only humiliating yourself. I want to get stronger. Thrashed by the monkeys and unable to go to sea. I have nothing to teach a man who can't finish what he starts. I beat the monkeys. He defeated them? You're the only one left to take down. But I'm not stupid enough to think I can beat you yet. I don't understand. You would kowtow to a mortal foe and beg him to instruct you? Why? To surpass you. You want me to teach you the sword so one day you can take my head. You're a strange one. You're still a shameless fool. So you value something more than your own pride. Ghost Girl, see to his injuries. When your wounds have healed, I will instruct you. Such a clumsy fool when a man of your caliber abandons his pride is always for the sake of another. I freaking adore this.
This is the culmination of both Zoro and Mihawk's arcs.
Yes, 100%. And getting to see Mihawk, because you and I are going to talk about this more when we talk about Blackbeard and freedom and stuff, but getting to see Mihawk have a different purpose and have Zoro as a student and get to be a teacher and see that Zoro, with all of his talent and with all of his ability, is willing to give up all of his pride just so that he can be stronger for Luffy.
Just after Mihawk has seen a man, he himself is like, I'm the world's strongest, and then sees a man who's like, oh my god, there is a power greater than mine. Everyone will do anything they can to help that boy. And now Mihawk is like, and now he's done it to me,
I love how he found out how much he wanted to help out Luffy, and that he was like, God damn it, I'm Mihawk. I'm a lone wolf. I run this ocean by myself. And then he's like, and now I'm training freaking Zoro. God damn it. It felt so like curmudgeon-y hero, and I love a curmudgeon-y hero. The whole talk about this is the power to overwhelm the color of the Supreme King. Most people who made a name for themselves in this world possess this power. Though you can control the color of the Supreme King, you cannot train to be stronger directly. I love that we got to see what Haki is, how it works, what Luffy has, why Luffy is so cool. And then the thing that I love the most in 597, shut the sweet door. You couldn't have come up with a better picture is 1,000 words. He takes his frickin' hat off and puts it on a rock and says, let's get started, Rayleigh. And it was like, that scene could not have ended any other way. There is no other way he could end it. As soon as he did that, I was like, you brilliant bastard, by ending it with Luffy taking his hat and putting onto the side and just saying, you know what? I'm leaving this onto the side until I've trained up enough to put it back on my head again. I am not a strong enough pirate right now, but I will be. Oh, that was a brilliant, brilliant choice. I'm here for it all the way. So the thing that you were saying that I may have earned a diamond star for is that I predicted Haki like a million years ago.
On the sea train. On the sea train. Now, this is a theory I've had for a long time. I've seen a lot of people disagree with it, and this is what I was excited about Mama Drock noticing, that it felt like the Straw Hats were getting stronger in a way that wasn't strength. And I've had a few other people, first-time readers, notice this. And we now learn about armament and observation Haki. And we have these comments that people have of, how are you reacting so fast? You seem inhumanly tough. And Mama Drock noticed on the sea train that the Straw Hats seemed to be able to will themselves to be stronger, that because they had more ambition, because they had more drive to succeed, they were able to will themselves and have more will to become stronger, which to me, I genuinely think is Mama Drock noticing something I did, but retrospectively. She noticed that ahead of time, that the Straw Hats were passively learning Haki and using it in a clumsy way to be stronger. Until then, noticing that there is a way in this world to will yourself stronger with drive and motivation. Like, that's crazy that you noticed that so early. So yes, you absolutely get a diamond star for noticing something I haven't seen someone notice on their first read through then. A lot of people really disagree that the Straw Hats were passively using weak forms of Haki until then, but that's all that explains that every time they go through a hard fight and find deeper motivation, that they're able to get stronger. But yeah, you get a diamond star. I'm very happy to give you this one.
I hate my other diamond star. It can burn in hell.
Your other diamond star is not nearly as fun, huh?
It can burn in hell, but this diamond star feels so good. I love it.
Something's happening. Kaido, we have 33 seconds.
Here we go. I'm ready to rock this one out.
You sure you don't want to wait? Kaido's going to the effort of a countdown. I want to respect it.
Last time Kaido did a countdown, they started from 1,000.
I'm not going to respect that one.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember thinking like, damn.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, YouTube, it's me, Mama Drop. You're sitting here and you're watching this right now and you're thinking, this is good stuff.
It's great stuff.
Here's what you need to do. Press subscribe.
Okay.
Then go to the bell.
Whoa, yeah.
Click all.
Doing it.
Bob's your uncle. Now you're going to know about this every single time it comes out. And honestly, is it going to change your life? Yes. Is it going to change the way other people see you? 1,000%. Will it be better? Jury's out. Jury's out. All I know is subscribe.
Wait, so it will change how people see me, but you don't know if for the better.
Subscribe. Subscribe right now. Also, press the like button. Why aren't you going to press a like button? You're sitting here. You clearly liked this. You're at the end of the bloody video. If you've watched the entire thing, you like it enough to press like. I mean, let's be serious. If you're not pressing like now, that's just some weird power trip. Get over it. Press like. Here's the second one. Hey, YouTube, it's me, Mama Drock. Press like, and then press subscribe, and then press subscribe, and then press like.
Well, no, that'll unlike and unsubscribe.
And then press it again and again. You know how to do this. Also, let me make another mention. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Yeah, that's the new song I wrote specifically for this moment. The other thing I just want to tell you, YouTube, is from now on, when we do our announcements that there's going to be a upcoming stream, and then you all ask, what the hell? Is she possibly already here? The answer is we Twitch, man. It's twitching. It's live stream. It's twitched. It's not magic. It's a Twitch. Anyway, when you go to those announcements and you find out what we're going to be twitching, that is the moment that we're going to have a question panel. It's the SBS, but it's a little more interactive. You put your questions, your ideas, or your hellos there, and I will talk back to you. And what are we calling it? What are we calling it? God dang it, Drock.
Do you not remember what you were calling it?
I don't remember shit. That's why I lean on you, man.
Asked and answered.
It's ITQ.
ITQ.
Is it
It's the ITQ.
Yeah.
I take questions.
No, it's not I take.
It's ITQ. We're calling it ITQ.
Fine. It's ITQ. You ask questions, you interact, and I'll answer you back. And from now on, I'm taking questions. Okay, you know what? Let's do a second one. Ignore the whole first one. Person who's editing. Erase it like it never happened. Here we go. Hey, YouTube. From now on, when you get announcements that we're going to have a Twitch stream coming up, that's your opportunity to ask Mama Drop a question. Maybe drop a line. It's called the ITQ. I'm taking questions. Questions about what? Well, that's up to you, but try not to be rude. I'm a mama. Get your head out of the gutter.
Okay. What?
That's all.
Okay, what did we need to touch on that you wanted to touch on before we do closing segments?
Ooh, here we go. So right away, in the future, I believe that Blackbeard is also going to be training somewhere during these 2 years. He is probably going to be using his training while he goes around to different areas that he knew used to belong to Whitebeard. He's going to be using these as opportunities to have his combined devil fruit. Number 2, the rebellion is going to up its activities. Robin is going to become a part of it for sure. I think she's going to meet Luffy's other brother, Sabo, and I think that's going to be amazing. And if she doesn't, I'm going to be so goddamn angry. And then when she comes back, something I'd like to say is that while the Straw Hats are gone, an amazing thing is happening at each one of the islands and the places that the Straw Hats are. As they're divided, they are all training, but they're also creating ripple effects where they are connecting with other people in various parts of the world. So they're bringing together people who are going to be able, in my opinion, to be called on by Luffy. They're kind of creating goodwill. I mean, Nami is doing it in a weird way, but we got 2 years, Nami. I trust you. And so I think it's a way of spreading that love for Luffy, that connection to people, whether they know it or not yet.
We kind of just are entering a corkboard corner right now. Like, that's what the vibe.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, corkboard corner. All right, we're there. We're in it.
It's very, very interesting that one of the people who was at the top actually said that Luffy returning and living is returning from something that only a god could live and return from. I believe that the idea of Sabo being killed by the opposite of freedom is a thing that we're going to have to lean into more. In this time now, I think that the government is going to attempt to spread itself in all the different areas and to fight back against the pirates taking over different areas, but they're going to find that they just don't have the resources. Lots of people are going to sign up to be in the government, but they're going to be so low trained. But at the same time that all this is going on in the 2 years that the Straw Hats are gone, those people who are now entering into the government, who are brand new, I want to be in the government. The government can never lose. Like we saw a whole bunch of panels with them there. So we're going to actually train government people up. And I think that the influx of government Navy people is going to increase greatly. The 16 bells really means something. I can't connect it right now. The 16 rings of the bells. I understand that there is 16 bells ringing and it's actually going to mean something very important. I really don't have enough information. I pondered and realized, no, Oda hasn't given me anything. I just have a feeling on my skin. I think that Eminem is going to come back into predominance. I am hoping that Eminem ends up in a place that's close to where Frankie is and that he has some kind of change of heart. I doubt it. But I think Eminem is going to come back in the next half of this piece.
Okay.
And I think that Dr. Vegapunk is actually not evil and working for the government, and we're going to find out that he is actually helping us out in some way.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any prediction on a new fleet admiral now that our man Sengoku's stepping down?
Yeah, and he said, who did he recommend? He recommended Akaido?
I think he recommended Ice Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Akiji.
I don't know. Akiji. I don't know. It's not going to be Akiji. Can I think about that one? I haven't really thought about it.
For sure. Well, we know it's not Garp because Garp is retiring from active duty.
Yeah, 100%. At the same time as the government is getting a whole bunch of new people, the ocean is going to be filled with baby pirates.
What?
So in the next 2 years, we're going to see a whole bunch of people coming up there and clogging up the system with their pirating. It's kind of like a whole brand new moment with Gold G. Roger, where everybody is coming out in droves. I'm wondering if it's going to act like Katamari Damacy, where some of the stronger pirates are going to suck in some of the other groups and bring them into their teams, a la Foxy, but I'm not certain yet. We'll see. We are going to get another pirate. I don't know if we're going to have Luffy and the Straw Hats rescue their friend Bonnie, and that's why she's going to be a member of our crew. I don't know where the rest of her crew are going and if they're just going to take her to them. But part of me feels like Bonnie is going to be a pirate. What is that part of me? Pirate for us and the Straw Hats. That
by pirate, you mean Straw Hat, yeah.
And that feeling simply comes from people saying, I'm glad she liked Bonnie. I think that Bonnie has information that's really, really important that the government is trying to hide. I also feel, new prediction, like one of the things that's going to occur while Robin is with them is that she is going to be able to look at some of the information that the rebels have, and she's going to get deeper into the poneglyphs and figure some out while they are separated. I cannot wait for them to come together. And I think that Luffy is going to be buffed up. I'm hoping this is where he gets the yellow belt that I put on his felting. I think this is when Chopper maybe will soon get a new hat, like the one that I have from Christmas somebody gave me. It was me. I gave it to me. People are loving this. I'm glad you like Bonnie. It's so hilarious. There, I'm glad you liked Bonnie as strong as I am. Pearl sucks. Okay, and I think when the Straw Hats get back together, I'm wondering how we're going to do, like reunion is going to start with a party, OVs, and then I'm wondering what it's going to look like for our Straw Hats first battle, like what we're going to find out about their strengths. God, I am so excited. Thank you, because I'm so excited to see how they discover each other's skills. I'm so excited for that, right? Like,
people want to know who you think is going to get there first.
Why are they asking that? Is that a big deal? Does something happen?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm just reading what they're saying. People just like you predicting stuff.
Why? I'm just one kid. I'm just one kid with an army inside of me. Yeah, I don't know. Who's going to get there first? In my heart of hearts, I would hope it was Usopp, honestly. That would be my hope.
Okay.
I wanted to not like Usopp so much, and now I'm just like need Usopp to come back and be with Luffy. Who is going to have the biggest glow up? Now that's a worthy question.
This is a good question. Who is the best glow up?
Frankie.
Wait. Were you going to argue no matter what, if Frankie came back with a face, you were going to be like, see, it's the best glow up. Last time I saw him, he didn't have a face.
Face is back.
That's...
But I couldn't do it.
Oh my God, I kind of wish you'd committed. That's funny. I'd be... If Frankie came back looking ugly and you didn't like his design, I'd be like, see, you lost. And you'd be like, no. One of my favorite post-time skip designs is one of everybody else's least favorites.
Okay.
I would say almost every Straw Hat, the average opinion is people like them better. There's 3 I'd say that people on average like worse post-time skip.
Chopper's going to have a remarkable glow up because he's going to get the blue hat with the pink, but it's not enough.
Okay.
That's not enough. I mean, Robin, what does she do? Get a new bloody haircut, grow her hair out, wear a new outfit, get beefed?
Buff Robin would be hilarious, honestly. Something about Robin coming back jacked as hell. Like, wait, isn't your thing archaeology? And she's like, I got real into lifting.
That would be so good. I think the biggest glow up is either going to be Frankie, because he is going to do a lot of shit to his body, or Usopp. And I'm going to say Usopp.
Okay, we're predicting Usopp for biggest glow up. All right. Oh my God, Robin buff as hell because she's carrying a poneglyph. That's great, honestly.
Robin. I wonder if anyone's going to come back with a devil fruit. And then I also want to predict that Luffy is going to teach the other crew members how to use Haki.
All right. We'll add that to the predictions. I feel like you went through predictions so fast for a bit there that you were just testing how fast Kaido can write, testing the strength of her goddamn fingers.
You're welcome, Kaido. I have faith in you. Okay. Top.
Whoa, do we want to do top 5 first or least favorite character first?
Okay, yeah, it's Blackbeard.
Really? Look. Blackbeard was a bastard this arc. However, I'm honestly shocked it's not Blue Jam.
Blue Jam sucks, but he sucks in the way that the dudes who came from the mountains sucked back in the day with Luffy. Like, it's just not the same level.
Like Higema the Mountain Bandit. I get you. It's not like going around the world, burning down towns, spreading panic.
No.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Like, he's just
I would probably pick... Sabo's dad's a good choice too, honestly.
Sabo's dad is shit. But he's no Blackbeard. Come on. All right, here we go. Top 5.
Here we go.
Brought to you by Mama D. Drock. Dun, 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 dun. Number 1, in the hot sun. Shit on my bricks. Okay. Who is number 1?
You came in so hot.
Number 1 in the hot sun. Old Jim.
Old Jim deserves it this week.
Yep. Old Jim. He took Luffy from despair from derangement to... No, there's no word. Erase it. It's Old Jim.
He just helped him out. He helped him out a lot. It's Old Jim. Truly, you are a poet.
Number 2. No, not number 2. Let's do 5, except for one problem.
What?
Number 2 is obviously Rayleigh.
Okay.
So, yeah. Rayleigh! No, not dun dun dun.
Number 2 is Rayleigh. Makes sense to me. He does a lot. Teaches us about Haki. Teaches Luffy about Haki. Swims across the sea.
Number 5.
Yep.
Did you ever see the cartoon with the dude who laughs like I laugh when things are super funny?
What?
Muttley. His name is Muttley. I have Muttley's laugh sometimes.
Dude.
Let's do number 5. Why are you wasting my time here? Got a busy life. Number 5. Number 5 is pretty hard because there's a lot of people who are good but not that good, you know? And so I don't know why I went to number 5. So let's go to number 3. I'm going to make number 3 Sabo.
All right. Fair.
Very important character. Absolutely nuts awesome. I'm going to make number 5 da-dun 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 da-dun.
Like that got me. Oh, why that get me so good.
So good. I can't even. You know who I'm going to make number 4? And everyone can fight me. We can have a fight about this. And I don't care because you're physically not there. Dragon!
Damn, all right. For saving a young boy, maybe possibly saving a young boy.
Not just for saving. The reason I chose Dragon is because not only did he completely change the way that he saw his rebellion, he ended up saving all of those people that were pushed against the fire and taking them all on. And he saved Sabo, and I know he did. And he changed the entire face of that area of Goa, because when the people came through later, they were like, oh my, I expected more bodies. Oh, the bones probably burnt. No, they didn't. You know what? You can kiss Dragon's ass. He saved him. And I really felt like in this arc that I really appreciated Dragon more and appreciated where the cause comes from and why he's in rebellion. So I love me a dragon anyways, but in this arc is where I really got to find out where Dragon started from and why I think he's such an important character.
I will say this solidifies a trend for Dragon of showing up to a place where something's happening and just commenting esoterically about the state of the world.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad I like Dragon too, guys. I love that for me.
Hey, what tier is Luffy?
Oh, right. We tier Luffy. Tiering Luffy. God, shit. This is hard. You know what? No. This is not hard. You know what I'm going to say? Thank you so much, Raviolis.
What?
Luffy is an S+ tier, and hear me out. He wakes...
Damn, we have our second SS Luffy.
Oh, God, SS. I don't like that much.
We agreed to that because someone pointed out it was funny to do that because we were in the arc where we were talking about Nazi imagery, and now we're stuck with it.
Okay, we agreed. SS Luffy because he wakes up from finding out that his brother's dead. He's absolutely devastated. He can barely control his hurt. And he manages to regroup himself and remember the thing that Ace said to him when he was in their childhood. We love him. He's gone and we need to continue to live in our best way. And he does that with the help of Old Jim. And shout out to Old Jim. My main man, you really helped Luffy bring it back. But getting to see Luffy throughout his childhood and then see the arc of how he carried that into being a young adult and now having him manage to pull himself from the depths of despair, that's SS, man. Like, that is a hard thing to do. So you got this. You absolutely got this, Luffy. I have faith. You know what, community? I had the greatest day talking to you guys. It's been awesome.
This has been fantastic.
Once again, you're rocking it. You know what, YouTube? If you're not coming to these places, you have no idea what you're missing. It gets edited out. You have no idea how much fun we have here.
This is such a blast. I had a great time. Even if most of my mental effort today was spent staring at this going, how do I fix it?
Dude, I can't believe you chose to do a new form of art live. You nailed that. Well done. Good for you, dude.
I do this to have fun, so I'm always going to do something that feels like it'll be fun.
I really love it.
Do I have any advice for someone who's coming back to art after a long slump? Anytime you're struggling to draw, whether it's from artist block or because you haven't drawn in a while, focus on having fun first and foremost. You can focus on work and practice once you have momentum, but momentum comes from having fun, so focus on fun first whenever you're struggling. That's my biggest advice.
What he's drawing is the only moment that I thought gave me happiness in the last, I don't know, million chapters? I've said it before and I'll say it again. The joy he's dishing out in smaller portions now because I think that he's almost trying to make us understand deeply how important joy is. He's taken it away from us. When he gives it back, we're going to be like, oh shit, joy. Joy is important. Joy is great. And I actually think, unironically, I am right. And that is part of what he's doing because he's trying to show the strengths of friendship, beauty, joy, finding the things in life that are worth living for, all of those types of things. I think he's actually trying to show us that. And one of the best ways of doing it, take away the joy. And then you're sitting here like, good God, man, you're killing me. Now when you have joy, you're going to understand it not as a silly idea. You're going to understand it as a thing that feeds your soul. And when your soul is fed and you have things that are worth fighting for, you need to train even harder. Why do you fight except to fight to have joy again? Who are you fighting for?
Hey, you two being mad at me for not hiding Sabo being alive better. I've tried so hard. I've tried so hard to be good for so many things. I could not find it within myself to be good about this one because, like, it's so much work to pretend that it feels like he's dead. Like, it's fun. It would be too hard to pretend that I ever thought he was dead. I'm not. Fuck it. No, I'm not gonna bother. You can roast me in the comments. I truly don't give a shit. I did not have it in me to pretend.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't. He tried so hard and got so far, but in the end...
I thought about trying,
in the end,
and then I was on a phone call with you, and I was like, no.
Let me sing my song, Drop. He tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it didn't really matter.
The fact that you made me go back to listen to your song made me think you were gonna put a joke in, but you did just say it straight. Anyone who did think he was dead, again, media analysis, media literacy is a skill. It's not something I want to shame people for not having. Mama Drak does have it. It was not gonna fly under the radar.
You know what, by the way? Old Jim, bringing Luffy from despair to desire. That's the one. All right, close us off, Drak. Bring us home.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This is such a blast. And until next time, it's been lovely talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
Bye!
Woo!